validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt up on the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher constantly, making my own climb. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. Whoa, I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield.
How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we're talking about this, that, and everything in between. Almost 15 minutes after the expected time that we were supposed to start. Uh, but that's okay because here on This and That, we go live 7 nights a week. We do not let the sun rise without going live, but we don't always start on time. A couple weeks ago, we were massively late, but we did 2 shows that day to make up for it. And that's why we ask you guys to like and subscribe, and then also take a look at the membership, mash those reaction buttons while you're here, and then uh, yeah, like, subscribe, hit the membership. Yeah, I can't remember everything. Had brain fog just now. Okay, look, because then I just remember, oh yeah, I got to go back and go and edit that Sunday night show. That's what I was supposed to be doing, but I had rebooted the computer to make sure that everything was functioning the way it's supposed to be functioning. So I'll be doing some video editing tonight. I updated the information for you guys in the membership about the precious metals, gold, silver, platinum, uranium, the prices that they are right now. And I actually verified that they are, in fact, right now exactly where I said they would be, where silver is sitting right at around $60 and some change right now, which from 2 weeks ago, I had quoted that as a thing to do. And that's wild that I said when it was $78 per troy ounce that it was going to end up being around 50, 55 or $60 per troy ounce as soon as conflict stops. So foreshadowing at 2 weeks later, it did exactly what I said it was going to do. So special shout out to Daniel Barris. Appreciate you popping into the podcast tonight, my man. And yes, today is Tuesday. Now, here on this and that, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between, we kind of give you guys, we don't just kind of, we definitely give you guys plenty of information. And we have different topics every night of the week. Sunday, we do questions and comments from the fans. You have questions about you. I give you guys enough information to help you fix your own situations or just find alternatives to address a problem differently to what you normally been addressing it. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday is business and politics. So Monday we talk about how politics negatively impacts your ability to make, save, and invest money. Today, Tuesday, we're going to be talking about different ways to make, save, and invest money, different ways to budget your money, different ways to look at your money, different ways to make decisions that actually indirectly or directly impacts your money. Because I mean, why make millions of dollars if you're always going to be broke? No matter how much money you have ever made in your past, the average American can honestly say that I might have made $250,000 in 1 year, or I might have made $50,000 in on one bet, or I might have won $100,000 at the casino, but your ass is still living paycheck to paycheck today. Why get big money if you're not going to manage it well? If you hit the lottery and 2 years later you're in bankruptcy court, you didn't do what you were supposed to do with the money. So we give you guys all the information that you can possibly have to change the way you think about what you're trying to do with your money. Now, on Wednesday, we talk about different countries around the world that you can invest in and potentially live in. And then Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we give you information about self improvement, personal development, relationship topics, negotiation, socialization, building your brand, and then raises, promotions, negotiations with retirement, forced retirement, severance packages, and termination. Then we talk to you guys about building your 20 and 30-year plan. It's highly important. I was actually just talking to somebody earlier today, one of my neighbors, and we was having a collective, and this is one of the reasons why I realized that I got to have a different squad of people that I associate with, because not because these people are bad people. When I got to these people, we were sitting here talking, and I thought every time we talked, I was like finding a solution to what we were dealing with. So if somebody said that they had a headache, or somebody said they had an ache or a pain, I'm like, well, this, and this resolves your issue. It is what I do. I mentorship. I even in my personal life, I actually what the way I am on this podcast is the way I am in real life. If you got a problem, I know a way to fix it. Whether or not you want to fix it is up to you. But we wasn't having those woe is me conversations. We was actually having discussions. They started talking about Bitcoin. We started talking about Ethereum. We started talking about stocks and bonds. I started naming off some of the ones I told y'all in the podcast. We were talking about investment portfolios, stuff to that effect. So I'm sitting here around a collection of people. Yeah, they can smoke a blunt, drink a 40, and talk about getting so fucked up that they can't remember what happened last night. But they're also the same kind of collective that's like, man, I need to start investing in my fucking future. So, and I would tell him like, hey, because he was telling me his horror stories about investing in Bitcoin, how he had put a stack of cash in, pulled out too soon, and he left a bunch of money on the table. He invested in another situation. He left his money up there too long. The money dropped. He started pulling out at the as it was going down. He lost out on a bunch of money on the pullout. He invested in something else where they charged him transaction fees, where out of the $5,000 he put up, he had to give up $500 for transaction fees. I'm like, sheesh. And this is the reason why the average person doesn't really want to invest. They're satisfied with making money and living off the money that they make, because it is too hard for the average person to try to navigate the dynamics of putting money in a place where they're making money for them. They'll take that risk as entertainment to go gamble at the casino, and if they win, they win. If they don't, they get free drinks at the bar while they're gambling. Well, if you can drink enough alcohol to cover the money that you lost on the table, you broke even, because they're giving you free drinks while you're gambling. But when you start losing more money than you can consume in the restaurant, you are throwing your money away. And the whole endeavor is throwing your money away, because the money that you lost in the casino or spent in the casino could have went towards your retirement. And this is some of the things that people don't think about. So today we're going to be talking about turning your portfolio into a revolving check, something that not a lot of people think about doing. And when I was talking to the young man today, he's like 35 years old. He's about Steven's age. And I was talking to the young man today, and I was like, because he was telling me, man, when I was putting it into the stock market, yeah, I was getting back a little bit of money here and there, $50 here, there, but it wasn't a lot of money. But I was getting it every month. But when I was looking at the Bitcoin is giving back bank. But I'm like, think about what you're doing with Bitcoin though. You put up 50 grand with Bitcoin and get back 5 or 10 grand. You're looking at that 5 or 10 grand like that's a lot of money. But that's just 10 or 20% of the total quantity of money you put up there. If you'd have put up $1,000, you would have only got $100. It's the same dynamic. So the difference is with that is the volatility of that. You can lose all of your money, but if you bought a stock, it doesn't matter if you spent $300 on one stock or if you put $1 on 1,000 different stocks. Whatever they're supposed to pay you back per share for dividend paying stocks, that's what you're getting. It doesn't matter if that stock was once $30 a share and it's now $3 a share, or if it was $3 a share when you bought it and it's now $30 a share. What matters is that if they were giving you $1 per share and you have 100 shares, you have $100. It doesn't matter how much the value of the stock is. If that's what they're going to pay you, that's what they're going to pay you, as long as that company still exists. So it's not sexy money because you're not getting a stack of cash. You're not getting guaps in short increments. And that's what people don't understand. It's not about the stacks of cash in it. Because I told them, I said, think about this. If it's giving you $50 to $100 a month every month, guess what that's doing? Paying your phone bill. And when he starts giving you $300 a month, guess what that could possibly do? Cover your car insurance and your phone bill. Starts giving you $800 a month. Now it might be paying for the gas in your car, covering your car insurance and your phone bill. When it starts crossing over $2,000 a month, it's starting to pay for your groceries and everything else. When it starts crossing over $5,000 a month, it's paying your whole standard of living, depending on what city and state you're living in. But the difference between that little bit of money that you're getting right now versus the quantity of money you could be getting in 2 to 5 years is the fact that that is the interest on the principal, so that money is always guaranteed. If you hit it big on Bitcoin one day and you sell the stock and you get that money, you have to go back in and bet again and get that money again and try to turn that into something else. If you go to the casino and put 5 grand on black and win 50 grand, you got to go back to the casino and put another 5 grand on black. If you spend the principal, no matter how you get the principal, you still have to go back out and re-earn the principal. And the older you get, the harder it's going to be to make that money. As technology changes, society's decision-making skills changes, and what we used to do to get fast cash is not going to be as easy these days. And with the government micromanaging everything that we do, it's going to be harder to legally make fast cash because everything's monitored. Excuse me. So as we're getting into today's topic, for years, you guys have to understand, many people have thought that the only way to grow your portfolio is to keep throwing your own money at the portfolio. It's going to feel like a constant uphill battle. Every paycheck, you'd carve out a piece, send it to your brokerage account, buy a few more shares. It's going to be a slow and tedious situation. Honestly, it can be demoralizing if it's not paying you any money. It's going to feel like trying to fill a bucket with holes in it. You're going to feel like you're on a treadmill running faster just to stay at the same place. Over a few years, you'll discover that this isn't what you really want for yourself because you're not seeing the return on the investment. But I got to tell you guys, I found a way to force your portfolio to buy its own assets. And I mean, it's not a hidden secret. It's not a trick to the trade. But what I also did was also discover that if we're also utilizing our portfolio to buy its own assets, we also can utilize our portfolio to pay for other things. We're going to get into that today too. Our portfolio can create a self-funding machine that grows on autopilot. So in tonight's show, we're going to show you exactly what mechanics and behavioral rules that I'm using to make this happen so that you can stop feeding your portfolio and finally let it start feeding itself. Now, I just want you to understand that if you are force feeding your portfolio capital and you're trying to do expedited growth, when your portfolio starts producing capital on its own and you're reinvesting that portfolio's capital, what you're going to find is that you're going to see substantial expedited growth because every $1,000 that your brokerage account gives you, if you double down on that and put that thousand and you thousand back in there, now you're adding 2,000 to the principal instead of 1,000. And that's where compounded interest really starts paying off. You think about, oh, well, if I put away 12,000 a year, that's 120,000 a year. But yeah, but if you're putting away 12,000 and you're getting back at minimum 10% of that, that means you're getting back 1,200, which means out of that year, you would have 13,200. The following year, when you're adding another 13,200 onto that, right? That's 26,400 plus interest. That's when you start creeping into $25,000, $26,000 a year too. Now, when you think about that over the course of 10 years, that's why you're well over $300,000 because you're putting away $1,000 a year for 10 years plus compounded interest, reinvesting the interest from your principal. But we're going to keep going there. So I want to be honest with you guys. The traditional path of work, save, invest, repeat can be exhausting, especially if you don't know what you're doing. The entire model feels like it's built on one fragile assumption that you will always have more cash to add to the portfolio. It's not true. What happens when life gets in your way? A medical emergency, job loss, new baby. Suddenly, the steady stream of cash that was flowing to your brokerage account dries up. And when it does, if your portfolio is a growth account, that growth just stalls. It sits there waiting for you to come back and feed it again. It's a passive dependent entity. You do all the work in order for you to see the rewards at a later time. Now, this creates a ton of psychological pressure. You feel guilty spending money on a vacation because that's cash that could have been invested. You live in a state of low grade financial anxiety, always worrying if you're saving enough. You're not just an investor at this point, you're the sole source of fuel for the portfolio. It's an incredibly inefficient way to build wealth. While you can build wealth in this fashion, it is harder for you to accomplish because more often than not, when we have that emergency, when we have that medical emergency, that extra kid, a car repair, typically one of the first things we do is we grab the cash that's accessible to us, which is why we say build an emergency fund. I've been telling you guys to go one step further, buy yourself a safe, put some cash in the house because the money that you're going to make off of the cash at the house is going to be about the same as the money you're going to make at the cash in the bank. But if you put money into a high interest savings account, you probably get you a little bit more money. But overall, with taxation, the money you get off of that is it's what do we call that? Um, um, Not counted, right? It's moot. So think about this. If you had a few $1,000s at your house, and that's really all it is, three to five, that's really too much technically. But let's say you had that at the house. Anything that could happen that would require immediate cash. So really, you should probably have like $1,000 at the house, but immediate cash. Let's say um, tire change, $300 for brand new tires, not used ones. Oil change, um, regular car repair. That's why I said $5,000 because if you need to change out your transmission, you might be spending 2,500 to $3,000. Uh, if you're thinking about that, and these are things that would really need like quick within the next 7 to 10 days of addressing with emergency funds, right? Because when you think about going to the hospital, you get a free ride to the hospital that will be billed to you later at extracurricular pricing, right? So you're not actually paying today for the ride to the hospital. You pay for parking if you're going to meet somebody at the hospital, but I mean, that depends on where you're at. Your medical treatment is covered by your health insurance or the car's health insurance or the other person's car's health insurance. So outside of stuff that's not covered under the health insurance, there's not something that's going to happen if you have a health catastrophe that would take money out of your pocket today. So there's ultimately nothing that could really happen besides something happening to your car, uh, or your kids fucking up somebody's shit and you're paying them in cash to fix that problem that would actually cause you to have to pull money out right now today. But when you have a bad problem, and let's say you rob Peter to pay Paul, you fix the car, now you don't have enough money to pay the rent, or you don't have enough money to pay the mortgage, or you don't have enough money to pay for one of the utility bills because you needed to fix the car to go to work but your bills are due. That's when you take the money out of your savings account and you put that into the that bill. A lot of people don't have $1,000 in their savings account, so what they would ultimately do is sell their portfolio and pay for this financial problem because you live from paycheck to paycheck. So you don't have any extra money lying around. Any extra money that's lying around, that's fun money. That's not the logic, right? Steven says 3 to 5. That's what the judge said. I think you're referring to criminal court. But truth be told, $3,000 to $5,000 is enough money to have it safe at the house before you start putting like $3,000 to $5,000 into a bank. And the reason why I say $3,000 to $5,000 in cash at the house is because I come from cities and states in America where when the power went out, there were no ATM machines and things like buying gas with cash is a necessity. So if you don't have gas cans at the house to cover these situations, for temporary power outages, you have to have cash on hand to buy groceries and buy fuel and buy stuff for your generator. So having cash at the house is beneficial for those situations. He says, free ride to the hospital will cost you $11,000. Yes, but it's still a free ride to the hospital. They're not going to charge you that day. So that when I say free ride to the hospital, I'm telling you that if you get into a situation that requires you to be brought to the hospital, they're not going to make you pay the ambulance driver the day you get the ride to the hospital. So they're not going to deny you if you don't have any money for the trip to the hospital. They're not going to deny you the ride. They're not going to tell you, oh, well, you're broke. We're not going to bring you to the hospital. You're going to die here on the sidewalk. No, they're going to bring you to the hospital. They're going to bill you later. And most things that happen in our lives is we're going to bill you later. Now, when the bill gets here, you might not have the money to pay the bill, but we're going to bill you later. And the reason why I was explaining it to you like that was because if most disasters that happen in our life in 2026 is a bill you later situation, once you experience the situation, you have 2 to 6 weeks before the bill starts saying, hey, I need to be paid, which means you don't need direct access to direct capital right now. You just need access to that capital within the next 2 weeks. And if you include holidays, 3 weeks. That's the way the situation folds itself out. Now, a lot of us are going to live like this for plenty of years until you realize that the model that I'm talking about is flawed. Your ability to make money and then live off the money that you make and then have to go back out and make the money again without ever having any extra provision set aside for anything else. Then also, when you're investing on the struggle, because a lot of people invest in growth stocks because they're looking at the price of the stocks that they own going up and then they're only paying attention to the fluctuation of the price of the stock going up and going down. And they feel the emotional dread when the value of the shares goes down, and they feel the excitement and the dopamine hit when the value of the shares go up. But it's not giving you shit. You have to sell it while it's high. You have to sell it while it's high. Guy asked me, hey, did you catch the AMG? Yeah, I caught AMG. I looked at it and I didn't fuck with it because it's a growth stock. I'm gonna buy into it. It would have spiked. I would have had to sell before it tanked. And usually, what happens with dividend investors, the dividend rotation strategy, what they do is they buy into something before the reports go out, before the annual reports go out. They buy into it anticipating good reports. The good reports happen. The stock spikes. They sell it while it's high, and when people start selling it while it's high, everybody else panic. and start selling off the stock, and then the stock goes back down. When stock goes back down, some people who believe that it's a good growth stock will buy back into it. Then it starts back up, it'll level off. That spike is where the most amateur investors lose all their money. He says $5,000 in gold versus $5,000 in paper money. It's not a difference. So $5,000 in gold. Actually, gold right now is at like $4,400, I think. Because I put that into the membership today, giving you guys an update on gold, silver, platinum, and uranium. $5,000 in gold is $5,000, and $5,000 in paper money is $5,000. I don't think that there's so when you start talking about quote unquote investing in long term growth, holding $5,000 of paper money in the safe is less than holding $5,000 worth of gold bricks in a safe, because over time, people are going to be willing to spend more money on that same $5,000 worth of bricks, because you're looking at the here's the problem. You're not talking about $5,000 worth of bricks. You're talking about a gold brick that might be $5,000 per ounce, and you might have 1 ounce gold at your house valued at $5,000 right now, right? And then you're comparing that to $5,000 worth of paper money in a safe. Well, in 10 years, that $5,000 worth of 1 ounce of gold might be $7,000 worth of 1 ounce of gold in 10 years, 15 years. In an emergency, though, when we start trying to fix shit and rob Peter to pay Paul, or power outages or EMP attack or whatever you can think of that will have us in a situation where we can't just use a credit card at the ATM machine, that 1 ounce of gold is 1 ounce of gold. And just because that 1 ounce of gold in a normal trade market is valued at $7,000 or $10,000 doesn't mean that that 1 ounce of gold is going to do anything other than be given to somebody as 1 ounce of gold for whatever the fuck it is that I'm asking for. I might give you this gold bar for that car right there. Right now, that gold bar is worth $7,000. 10 years ago, that gold bar was worth $5,000. But likewise, I could just give you all the cash that I have, which is $5,000 worth of cash, and you give me that fucking car. Either way, in a scenario where there's no ATM machines, we have no power, we're almost falling into a post-apocalyptic scenario, the difference between the two currencies is not going to be anything. But if you're building wealth in a stable economy where we're not dealing with post-apocalyptic EMP strikes and no power going around kind of situation, last days right before the government collapses, if you're looking at a normal economy, you want to have the cash on hand as opposed to the gold on hand, because you're not going to shave $5 off of the gold bar and go to the grocery store and sprinkle gold dust on the register to pay for your groceries. You're going to take $50 out of the $5,000 and go to the grocery store and pay for the groceries. So the difference between the $5,000 worth of gold in the safe versus $5,000 worth of paper money in the safe, the paper money in the safe is more usable in the current market than the gold bar. He said, just bill me monthly. He says, for me, no dividends equals no buy, and I never sell. That's my philosophy. And look, hey, I've been teaching that philosophy. That's what I was saying earlier today. I was talking to some of my neighbors about that, and I'm like, yeah, I'm standing on that shit, bro. He was asking me about growth stocks, and I was like, fuck them growth stocks, bro. Those growth stocks are fantastic stocks. If you can get in there while it's low, hold it, and then when it gets high, you sell it and you reap the rewards of it, that's fine. But if you buy it when it's low, you hold it, it gets high, you keep holding it, it goes back down, you're going to feel the emotional devastation of the price of your shares going down, even though you didn't lose anything. If you put $1,000 on it, it went up to $100,000 and then it dropped down to 50,000. You are going to feel like you lost your firstborn to the $50,000 that disappeared that you've never fucking touched. But in a dividend paying stock, if you're going to give me my money, I'm going to be like Debo, what you got on my 40 every month. And I'm going to get that money every month. And I don't have to worry about if the stock goes up or if the stock goes down. But I did verify, Steven, today's a stock party. I put it into the membership. I don't know if you read it, but today's a stock party. Go get your stock. Then you were debating on Ellington Residential. Ellington Residential is 22.9% return on investment right now. I would put whatever you got on there instead of putting it somewhere else as far as a portfolio to catch it while it's high. so that when it starts going back down to 18% or 17%, when you can start putting all of your cash onto the lower stocks, because the lower stocks that are 3, 5, and 7% is going to offset that 22% and give you an average portfolio of 15%, which is outpacing the S&P 500 by 5%. So even though you right now have selected about 22 shares or 22 different stocks across a plethora of markets, if you balance them the way I had sent you in the membership, you would have all 21 or 22 shares averaging about 15 or 16% return on investment. And I think the three real estate investment trusts and I think two or three BDCs are going to be the only ones that are going to be taxed normally. So out of the 22 shares, you probably got like 16 of them that are tax deferred, where they're not going to be they're going to be tax favorable. They're not going to hit you with the taxation. But the real estate investment trust pass the taxation onto the customer. But it's way more profit though. So after taxes, you're still making more money on a REIT than what you're making on the other stocks, on a 3% stock. Because if you're getting 22% and they're going to tax you on that 22%, and out of that 22%, you might give up 3, 4, maybe even 5%. By the time you're done, that 22% is still giving you 12% after taxes, as opposed to the 3% not being taxed. You're still getting 9% more off of the one that pays taxes than what you're getting off of the one that doesn't pay taxes, which is why I tell you, put it on the one that you got to pay taxes on. Doesn't help. It says, I agree, cash on hand. I bought gold back in 74. It was only $200 an ounce. Right. So from 1974 to 2026, you had to wait 70 years, 60 years. That's a long time to get $5,000. That's a long time. If you will it to your kids, if you will it to your grandkids, when it's worth like $10,000 an ounce, and you will 100 ounces of gold to your kids, your grandkids, they're going to feel like that was a fantastic investment from 1974. But a 34-year-old cannot buy $4,000 worth of gold today and say that by the time they're 75, that gold is going to be worth more than what they need to survive. I said, I like Steve's thinking. Look, I like Steve's thinking too. Me and Steve is the same ballpark here. Oh, special shout out to Unc Andy. He was apologizing because he had passed out on us on this show. It is what it is. We was running late last night. We made it do what it do. Now you guys will understand that for years, a lot of people live in the model where you put your money in a stock option, or you put your money on gold or silver, platinum, uranium, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Dogecoin. We were talking about Dogecoin earlier today, and I was looking at him like, shit, if you put your money on Dogecoin, you should have put your money on Trump coin. They were both equally volatile. But they put money in places where they only benefit after they sell the stock. This is what hurts your heart. When I realized that the model was flawed, I started telling people, the portfolios need to stop being dependent on you and start becoming an active partner in your growth. It needs to learn how to earn and keep on earning while you don't have to put in there. Because once you put your money in there, that's right, Michael, that's right, slow and steady. And it wasn't the turtle that said it, it was the referee that was watching the match. Because the turtle was rushing at an excessively slow pace. And the rabbit was eating carrots on the side. If you remember Bugs Bunny, no, actually, the turtle on Bugs Bunny had freaking turbo jets on his shell. Them motherfuckers was riding nitros. But slow and steady is better than quick and in a hurry, because you can gauge stable growth over time with slow and steady. Steven says, it's safe to bet the farm on a Catch Me Outside Girl coin from Dr. Phil show. I'm not gonna lie. When we was younger, that girl that was like Catch Me Outside, oh shit, we would put everything on that. Look, Mystical served three separate 10-year stints from that girl that's Catch Me Outside. He put his whole career on the line, but catch that same charge 3 times Once every 10 years, catch me outside. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I would have put my effort into something else. After the first mistake, never again, never again. But not a lot of people learn from their mistakes. They gamble on what is that, DraftKings, and they gamble with the soccer's going on right now. They gamble with basketball. A lot of people put their money on LeBron James. They gamble on football. The draft already happened for football, and now we're looking at the preseason is about to start, and um they bet on everything except for long term stability. Oh, you're talking about the girl. Oh yeah, the Catch Me Outside girl that had created that meme coin, and then you're talking about the guys who started pulling the money out too soon, and then the stocks tanked, and then she got caught on them Fed charges for all the people who had lost billions of dollars in it. Yeah, I seen that on the news, and I was like, see, I don't fuck with the meme coin like that. And the reason why I don't really mess with any of the cryptocurrencies like that. And I have a lot of respect for the cryptocurrencies, but I don't mess with the cryptocurrencies specifically because there is no guarantee that I'm not going to need money between the time I give them the money and the time I want the money back. So even though, that has nothing to do with the strength of the stock. That has nothing to do with the legitimacy of the investment opportunity. It has everything to do with my risk tolerance. And understandably, the average American, like 76% of Americans, risk tolerance is fucking low. We need money from paycheck to paycheck. We might have 50 extra dollars that we don't need that we hold just in case we need extra gas to get us to work until our next paycheck. That's typically how we operate. We have just a little bit of extra money to buy us a little bit of gas, maybe get us a little bit of food, some snacks, some bullshit like that, to hold us over until our next paycheck. And then we're going to spend a bunch of money on paying bills and everything like that and catching up on stuff to make sure that we don't need nothing else till our next paycheck. And that's how we live life. Once something happens that exceeds the handful of cash that we hold in our pocket or the little bit of blanket that we have on our debit card before the billing cycle rolls over, that little bit of space that we have is not going to cover a two, three, five, $7,000 problem. Even if we had 3 weeks to get the money from somewhere else, we're trying to take out a loan. We're trying to leverage the car, take a title loan out, pawning shit because we just don't have enough money. So when we look at investing, even if the girl would have had a fantastic meme coin that would have lasted, the risk tolerance that I have is that if I needed money, like for example, just this past 30 days, 60 days ago, the light bill came out to be like $47 for 30 days. And I thought that was fantastic. A month later, the light bill came out at almost $300. I was like, fuck that shit. So when I plan to pay $50 a month for the light bill, I now have to reorganize my situation, cover that $300, put up another $300 just in case, and then fix the problem that caused the light bill to spike like that. Now, that is a normal day-to-day operation situation. That's going to happen when you're transitioning from the spring to the summertime, when it goes from being cool outside to being hot as fuck, when you start adjusting your AC from being moderate to being extreme so that you can deal with those 90 to 120-degree temperatures. It's going to happen again in the fall when it goes from being cool to being cold as fuck, where you go from just having the heat on just a little bit to keep things stable to keeping your feet from freezing up under you because it is freezing cold outside. It's 30, 40, 20, 10, 15 degrees outside, -8 degrees outside, depending on where you stay. And you feel that spike at least twice a year. So something as simple as that would cause you to say, shit, I didn't plan on that extra 200 something dollars. Now I got to get it from somewhere else and put it there. What people normally do is sell their coins, sell their meme coin, their Doge coin, their Bitcoin, and what always happens in our lives is when we need extra money when the market sucks. We always need extra money when the market sucks. So we was betting on the market when the market was good. We was making good money. The market is good. Everything was growing. We need money. The market is down. The market sucks. And now we need money. So what are we going to do? We're going to sell at a low. We're going to sell against our efforts. All of the growth that we made on our stock, if we broke even, we lost out on the time of investment. Some situations we actually just lose the money altogether. We lose. We went in there with like 5 grand. We just sat there enough where we could have had 12 grand. We sold short. And now we got 3 grand. We left with 2 grand less than what we started with, and all the interest that we had gained off of it. We lost all of that because we had to sell out of desperation, right? So we have to stop thinking of our portfolio as a savings bucket and start thinking about it as a business. And a business has expenses, but it also has revenue. So, what's going to be your portfolio's revenue? More importantly, how could you synthesize using that revenue to grow the business itself without your constant intervention? That shift in thinking changes everything. Michael says, I love people's losses. Well, okay, but do you love it when you lose? Are you good with giving your losses to somebody else? Because a lot of people prefer to not be on the downside. But when you got two people betting against the same thing, one of y'all is going to be right. The one that's not right gave their money to the other side of the table. Most of us like to be on the positive side of that situation. But the only reason, but you're looking at the difference between profits and losses. Losses is part of the game if it is strategically done. Because lost like $3,500 worth of losses that you can gain on your taxes as a deduction. So out of all of the money that you're earning on your portfolio, if you can show that you lost value in your portfolio over the course of the year up to $3,500, that can wash some of the taxable income you would have paid off of your portfolio. So say you made $300 in profits on dividends and they taxed you on that, say 24% of the $300 in profit, which is probably like $75. But you might have been down. You lost $300 on the share value on some of your shares. All right. Well, if you lost more money in shares than what you gained in dividends, you don't pay taxes on it. Doesn't matter if it goes back up next year. What matters is you took a financial loss on paper, not in reality. Because when you bought the shares, that's the cost of doing business. And the money that they're going to pay you on a regular basis, that's your profit. Out of the money that they paid you, that's your taxable income. Out of the value of what you bought diminishing, that's your deduction. That's not what people talk about on a regular basis. I play it safe, but I play it more volatile. That's why when I looked at my portfolio today, I seen that I'm somewhere closer to, I want to say 60% REITs and BDCs. I'm going heavy. I actually said, in spite of where the market is right now, I'm actually going to kind of rebalance some of this and some of my other stocks and bring them up a little bit because Jesus Christ, I front loaded the REITs and BDCs. I think I feel like I could keep doing it for the next 2 years while the market is volatile and then have like 95 or 80, 95 or 97% of just that. But I think that that's just a little bit too much. Even though companies are not going out of business, the goal was for me to have a generation of wealth that will be coming from growth stocks as well as cash paying stocks. And the stability of saying, hey, I'm not just going to keep front loading these. I'm going to rebalance into some of the other ones to kind of keep my averages close to what I wanted them to have is the discipline that you need when you're investing. But whenever you're about to make an impulse purchase versus stock investment, first thing I'm going to tell you is Ellington Residential is at 22.9% right now. Orchid Island is at 20.1% or 20.9%. And I think Prospect Capital is at 19.8%. Right now, I would be betting on those three before I go buy any bullshit from anywhere. Anything entertainment wise, I'd be like, you know what? Fuck that. Let me go do this. Instead of me buying a case of beer to go talk to my neighbors and hang out on the corner, I put my money on the stock market instead. Because there's no reason why I'm going to miss out on this opportunity. Because the stock market is going to probably be volatile for another 6 to 9 months. And the reason why I'm saying it should be volatile for another 6 to 9 months, because the laws that they just talked about passing today usually take 60 to 90 days to get finalized, and then another 60 to 90 days to be implemented. And during that 6 months, everybody's in an uproar. So stock market is volatile, but real estate is about to change, and real practice is going to be enforced in like September, October, November. So you're going to start seeing a very fucked up market in January, February, and March. And the reason why I'm saying it's going to be a fucked up market is because it's going to be a buyer's market under a seller's market narrative. And the reason why it's going to be that way is because more people have to sell something in order to buy something else, because everybody's capped at 350, either 350 or 305, whatever I said yesterday. They have a cap as how many single family homes they can own. There isn't a cap on apartment complexes. There's a cap on single family homes. So if you're buy single family homes, you can buy up to 300 something houses. They got to sell them. If you can buy them one at a time, go get them. It's good. That's going to be the reason why it's going to be a buyer's market, because there's more people selling than people buying. But it's going to be under a seller's market narrative, specifically because can't nobody afford the fucking houses in the first place. So now you're taking whatever they offer that's inside of your budget, not demanding a lower price for what you believe you deserve. Because somebody will pay for this motherfucker. It's overpriced, but somebody will pay for it. So fuck you. I'm going to sell this to that guy over there, which means that it's still a seller's market narrative. That's why I said the stock market's going to be fucked up. He says losses is what happens when you don't do your homework. Yes, sir, it is. And it's also what happens after you do your homework if you act impulsively based on economic news. So I put a lot on Shell starting out. That was a good move. You put a lot of Shell. You should have spread it in between Shell, Chevron, and ExxonMobil, not just Shell, because Chevron has um, the Venezuelan money. ExxonMobil is like international, and then Shell is like kind of directly impacting us here in America. So Shell was good, but if you since you're using Stash App and you're able to split your money in multiple ways, you don't have to buy a full share of anything the way you would have to on another platform like Charles Schwab. I would have bought all three of them. I would have put like $100 on each one of them, and then like let it ride until I got back to it. But at least having one of them was good. At least having one of them was good. But I got all of them. I got Shell, Chevron, ExxonMobil. I've got DHT Holdings. I've got International Seaway. Matter of fact, let me read off all the ones that I put into the portfolio. Hold on a second. I'm gonna get into it because y'all think I be bullshitting. Y'all think I be bullshitting. The only one I didn't get was the one that he just asked me about the other day. Well, let me tell you, I'm gonna read off right now the ones that I grabbed when I keep telling y'all to tighten up and put your money in places where your money should be making it. Prospect Capital, Ellington Residential, Orchid Island Capital, AGNC Investment Corp, Orba Residential, Real Estate Investment Trust, Arbor Realty. So you have Armor Residential. They sound almost the same. Armor Residential, and then Arbor Realty. DHT Holdings, International Seaway, ExxonMobil, Shell, Chevron, Oracle, Johnson & Johnson, Arteria, Realty Income Corporation, Stag Industrial Incorporation, Main Street Capital Corporation, Erie Indemnity Corporation. That's the last stock that I grabbed. Special shout out to Stephen for doing that research. I grabbed it. Those are the ones that I'm holding on to. So notice, I didn't just get one of them. I got all them motherfuckers. But Oracle Tech Company, Johnson & Johnson. It's kind of a staple company, but it also does a little bit of healthcare. Realty Income is BDCs. Stag Company Industrial is Real Estate Investment Trust. Main Street Real Estate Investment Trust. Arteria is smoking. International Seaways, the shipping containers, specifically their fleets of ocean going vessels. So they're the boats that transport the ships all over the place. They have 42 fleets, including 13 very large crude oil carriers, and that's why I told you to grab those. Then DHT Holdings Incorporated is independent crude oil tanker company, and that's why I told you to grab that one. And then you have the others are real estate investment trusts, real estate investment corporations. So I put a lot of money in a lot of places where I'm like, yeah, let's make bank because all of those are dividend paying stocks. He said, I got them all now, or most of them, 90% of uh, 90% of them at this point. I've been going hard these last few months on investing. Damn right. Shit, you said you had $7,000 sitting somewhere. If that $7,000 is sitting somewhere making less than 10%, you should be pulling that money and putting it somewhere else. Only pull it when it goes up. Don't pull it while it's down. But whenever it goes up, you pull that money and put it somewhere else because you can put it somewhere else and opportunity cost. If you're dealing with a 15% on investment portfolio and you have 7 grand sitting somewhere making less than 10% portfolio, you're losing out on the opportunity cost of 7 to 10% of growth on that exact same quantity of money. Since where your money was is doing a good job, where your money is could be doing better. Now, if it's tied up in CDs, I'm not going to tell you to take the penalty and try to close that shit out early. Let it mature, but instead of reinvesting it back into the CD, when it matures, you take that profit and invest it into the brokerage account. You can still go back and get into some CDs, but you want to get into the CDs when the interest rates change and the CDs are giving you like 4 and 5% return on investment. If you're going to bank on a rollover scenario, instead of getting a CD, get a treasury bond because the treasury bonds are at 4.1% right now, 4.1, 4.4, something like that. A treasury bond, a 3 month, 6 month, 9 month, 12 month treasury bond is going to give you more back return on investment and tax deferment than what you would get on a CD. So since the CDs are cheaper as far as profits are concerned, they're giving you less back, and you can set it up the same way you set up a treasury bond. If you're trying to play it safe, get you a treasury bond. But don't let your $7,000 sit somewhere where it's going to give you back 3% return on investment that will be taxed by the government, and it's not going to be covered under inflation, where you ultimately, at best, might get 1% back on your investment. That's a waste of money. That's a waste of money. So, the solution, when I tell you guys about these portfolios, you want to transform your portfolio into a passive collection of assets that is the dynamic, self-sustainable system, which is going to be your well-oiled machine. So you want to think of this like a highly advanced 3D printer. Your initial investment is the filament that you load into the machine. The machine then uses that filament to print its first product, a small stream of cash, right? But here's the magic. You program the machine with a single unbreakable rule. Instead of giving that cash to you, it must be used as new raw material. That's one way to do this. Now, there is another way to do this because if you're going to manually reinvest, you can just let it come back to you and put it somewhere else. But you can also have situations where, like I told you guys before, when your portfolio is generating enough revenue and you hold a large enough portfolio, typically over $100,000 worth of capital in your portfolio, you can borrow against the portfolio and use the dividend payments to pay off that loan. And that's always something that nobody ever thinks about. You get money from holding on to money. And when your portfolio is paying off the loan, the taxable income is no longer taxable income because that income is used to pay off a debt. So now you don't have to worry about the taxation on it. So you got $100,000, you borrow $50,000, you take that $50,000 and put it to work for you. But let's say out of that $100,000, you're getting $15,000 a year back. You're going to put that $15,000 a year on that 50 grand. Now you're not paying taxes. Nice. Now, where do you put the money? Yeah, it really depends on what you're trying to accomplish because you can put that 50 grand towards a real estate property. You can put the 50 grand back into your brokerage account. where you're now have 150 grand, which should be giving you closer to 25 grand back, which allows you to pay off the 50 grand where you can now go up and borrow 75 grand and kind of explode the growth of your portfolio doing it that way. But likewise, you can also, like I said, go buy some real estate, flip the real estate, borrow against a stone off the real estate, put a tenant there, have them paying on a mortgage, take that capital, put it over here, and keep moving money around so money's making money for you. Right? You can set it up though if you just want to have the portfolio pay for itself. Like I told you guys, if your brokerage account is producing $100 a month, instead of you depositing into your account and then reinvesting the money back in, you can say, well, it paid itself $100. Instead of me putting that $100 into the account, I could put that back in from the brokerage account and just give it less. So if I was giving it $500 a month, now I'm giving it $400 a month because it's generating $100 a month. That extra $100 a month I'm not putting onto my brokerage account, I can pay bills with. That's the logic of how you do it without having to do all those extra transfers. The same thing. It's like if you're getting $1,000 a month from your brokerage account and you was putting $1,000 into your brokerage account. If you were only putting $1,000 into your brokerage account, you can say, now that my brokerage account is producing $1,000 a month, I'll stop investing in the brokerage account and take my $1,000 and do something else with it. I wouldn't do that. I would say, well, my brokerage account is giving me $1,000, so I'm gonna put that $1,000 in there and add $1,000 to it. That way, I'm now putting $2,000 into the brokerage account instead of $1,000, which allows my brokerage account to grow even faster. That's what I would do. But if you're just trying to automate it, this is what you would do. The portfolio would take the cash that it just generated and immediately use it to create more filament and start over the process of making more money, make money for you. In this particular scenario, the machine has more raw materials than it started with. So the next time that it runs, it's going to print a slightly larger stream of cash, which it then uses to create even more filament, which it then uses to create more cash. This closes the loop. It's a self-perpetuating cycle. If your portfolio is giving you back 15% return on investment and is being reinvested back in, your principal increases by 15% every year, and every year you're going to continue to get 15% return on the total investment. That's called compound interest. The machine is literally funding its own expenses. The cash flows generated by your investments, the dividends from the stocks, distributions from funds, interest from bonds are all revenue, right? So by systematically and automatically reinvesting this revenue, you are forcing the portfolio to buy its own assets. Each purchase feels free because it doesn't come from your paycheck. It's the portfolio itself working day and night to manufacture its own growth. Now, this isn't some Wall Street secret. It's built on the old unshakable principle of compound interest, right? Now, we're not just compounding the value, we are compounding the number of productive assets that we own. More shares leads to more dividends, which leads to more shares, which leads to even more dividends. It's an exponential curve that starts to slowly, but because it will become an unstoppable force over time. So it's not simply something that you just deal with a linear line. The more you add to it, and the more you re-add the result, you start getting a very steep bell curve, an exponential bell curve. Anybody who remembers how that feels when you're trying to graph 3 to the x power, right? Exponential bell curve, right? So by building this machine, you fundamentally change your relationship with your investments. And you go from being the sole provider to being the architect. And you got to understand, when you're becoming an architect, you go from the person that's doing the work to the person who's thinking about how the work should get done. And then when you set that up, someone else is doing it for you. An architect designs how the building should be built. The architect isn't building the building. The architect is responsible for how the building looks, but the architect is not held legally responsible for how it got built. That's the contractors. So if you look at a structure anywhere in your city that looks like all hell to tell the captain, That's because somebody drew it up that way. That was the architect. The person who put it together was just following instructions. But the difference is you're going from the person that follows instructions to the person that gives the instructions. That's what being the architect is, right? You go from being the doer to being the delegator. And that's a mentality shift that everybody should be having when you come to the show. The operator who designs the system turns it on and then monitors it as it runs on its own. You're going from being the worker to being the boss. And truthfully, you're going from being the worker to being the owner because the boss works for the owner. The owner doesn't do shit. The owner tells somebody to pay everybody. The boss tells everybody what to do on behalf of the owner. If we were thinking about 1930s mentality, boss is the porch boy that whips everybody on the field to get the stuff out the cotton field. The owner is the man of the house who owns everybody, including the boss. You got to think you're going from the guy in the field to the guy that owns the whole property. That's American history for the Southern Americans. Since we just walked out of Independence Day weekend. But that's really what it is. Treating your portfolio this way, this frees you from the anxiety of the old way of doing things. Allowing your portfolio to grow automatically, whether you have extra cash to add to it month to month or not. That is the best way to go about doing things. Now, I still monitor the portfolio. I don't monitor the portfolio nearly as much as I used to. And the reason being is because the ex dividend dates come once a month, which means I tell you guys of the upcoming dividends once a month. I don't give you guys a week to week, day to day rundown on all the stocks that are changing and moving and flipping every month because I gave you a list of 54 of them. I probably got 25 of them going across the top of the screen right now. I got at least half of them going across the top of the screen right now. And these are the ones that I named off to y'all when I told y'all, hey, these are the ones I'm using right now. These are the ones that Steven are using right now. These are the ones that my neighbors are using right now. Right? The ones that are going across the top of the screen. Right? So the proof is in the pudding. This shit will work for you. And you get that email for I know most of us, we check our social media platforms before we check our emails. We check text messages with our friends before we check our emails. But you know what feels so sexy is when you finally decide to click on your Gmail and go to your app, your emails, and scroll through your emails. And you see that Stash App email that says, congratulations, you just got paid dividends. And you look at them numbers and you be like, shit, I forgot about this. And then they're not going to send you one. They're going to send you one for each one of the stocks that you have that pays you money. So then it might tell you, hey, 17 times this month, you got paid 17 times this month. And I was just telling the guy, I was literally talking to somebody at Sunset today. And I told him, I said, bro, I said, most of the stocks that I got typically have ex dividend days towards the end of the month. So the last 2 weeks of June, I was hitting ex dividend dates on a lot of the stocks that I mess with, which means the first 2 weeks of July, I'm getting emails that says, congratulations, you just got paid. So over the next, so for the last like 6 or 7 days, I've been getting emails that says, congratulations, you got paid. For the next 5 or 7 days, I'm going to get emails that says, congratulations, you got paid. Steven says, get that membership. I'm trying to tell y'all. I'm trying to tell y'all. Nobody really pays attention to these things. So when you're living a life from paycheck to paycheck, you actually get a mental relief when you're told that you got paid to do nothing. Even if it is $50, $75, $150, $200, $300, even if you invested low and they told you that you got $1.50 off of your investment or $5 off of your investment, and then when you go look at that stock and see that you only had like $15 in there, you're like, oh shit, I should put some more money in that one, right? Make that email worth my time. Let me put some more money in that one, right? The old anxiety wave is gone now, right? Because like I told you, if you do away with your savings account and heavily run your brokerage account in the sense that you need money, you're looking at a tire, you know that tire needs to be changed. You take the $200 that your brokerage account just sent you, put it into your bank account. Once it clears the bank, you can go buy you a tire. Or in this situation, if you're donating $100 a month to your brokerage account or $100 a week to your brokerage account, you need $300 for a tire. Instead of putting the $400 a month on your brokerage account, $100 a week, you say, let me buy this tire with my cash, put $100 on the brokerage account, take that $200 from the brokerage account, put it back into the brokerage account, make money for you. Either way, you're now trading with confidence because now you're not selling your progress to replace your tire. You're not selling your progress to rebuild your engine. You're not selling your progress to update the registration on your vehicle. You're not selling your progress to pay an unexpected inflated utility bill. You're living off of the interest. And I got to tell you, I told my neighbor this earlier today. I'm like, look, the wealthy lives off the interest of their investments. Broke people live off the principal. Once the principal is gone, you got to go back and earn the principal a second time. But if you're living off the interest will continue to come every month that the interest is distributed. Steven says, starting the new college next month, going to slow down on investing and change the wardrobe to professional. Well, that's a good way to look at it. You can also take your cash and improve your wardrobe and then take your student loans and put it into your brokerage account. I know you got a free ride. I already know. You already told me. You had grants, you had scholarships. I seen that you was one of the honor students that when you graduated. That doesn't change the fact that you qualify for $200,000 worth of loans. So, and because you're a college student, those loans are deferred payment until 6 months after you graduate from college. So you can go and get those loans. You can put them into your brokerage account. And what you do is you specifically put those into the BDCs. You're going to put those in Ellington Residential, Orchid Island, and Prospect Capital. And the reason why you're going to put them there is because those are 20% return on investment. And your student loans, look at the interest rates, should be anywhere between 4.7 and 7.8% on your student loans. So if you're putting it into a brokerage account that is triple that amount, the difference between what you owe to school versus what you made off the money is going to be 2 times more than what you owe them. So if they're charging 7% return on investment and you got 22% return on investment, and you're basically getting 14% profit off of borrowing money from the school and putting it into a brokerage account. You're going to ask the school for the money for school supplies, room and board, whatever. They're going to give it to you. Then you take it and you put it in a brokerage account. They're not going to tell you no because you got a brokerage account. They're not going to tell you no. But if they ask you what you're borrowing the money for, extra school supplies. Okay. They're not going to question it beyond that because you're entitled to it because you're a college student. But student loans have favorable rates in comparison to personal loans. Get those student loans directly from your financial aid office. Don't go try to find a private lender. Go directly to your school's Broussard's office. As a matter of fact, since school starts next month, you should go there this month and start talking to them about it right now. Go to your financial aid's Broussard's office or whatever they call it over there, and you're going to talk to them about student loan qualifications. Let them tell you what you got to do to get your paperwork together to sign off on it. They don't give a fuck about your credit score. They're going to give it to you because you're a college student. That's one of the best parts about it because it's guaranteed as long as your GPA is the right way, they're going to give you the student loan money. Go and get that shit with the favorable rates. Take it, put it into a brokerage account. You're going to be in school for at least another 4 years. So you have half a decade before you have to give them the first dollar back, and you have half a decade to grow your portfolio. By the time you graduate from college, you can do one or two things. You can either, if the stock market is up, sell the stocks and give it to the school, pay them back in full as soon as you graduate, don't owe them a fucking dime, and keep the interest on your investment. Or the alternative, keep the money and pay the monthly payments on whatever the fuck they tell you that you owe them. And you're still going to be making a 14% return on investment because if they're asking you for $500 a month for your student loans and you're making $2,500 a month on your brokerage account, then you can give them that $500 a month without a problem, because who gives a fuck? Got plenty, right? And Donald Trump said that you're capped out on $200,000 over a lifetime, right? $200,000 over a lifetime. Typically, the school only gives you like $10,000 a semester, $30,000 a year, because there's 3 semesters, and you have to attend all 3 semesters to get that. So if you're only doing the fall and the spring, you're only going to get about $20,000 worth of per semester. Maybe a little bit more if you're in one of the medicine ones, which is why I was going for microbiology when I went to college. So you might get like 25,000 a year, but after they finish taking whatever they're going to take out for your education, you might get a deposit of like $10,000 to $15,000 a year from your school every semester that you attend, and that money is what you're going to be spending on everything else, laptops, everything, wardrobe, whatever you're going to be buying. But if you take that money and put it in a brokerage account, yeah, now you're stacking $10,000 to $20,000 a semester into a brokerage account that is putting way more money in the brokerage account than what you could have made on your own. Which means, yeah, you would redirect your money. Instead of taking your everyday paycheck and putting it in your brokerage account, you take your student loans and put it in your brokerage account, take your everyday paycheck, improve your wardrobe, buy whatever you need for your school, do whatever it is you got to do, fix your car, whatever the case may be. And then when you graduate from college, 6 months after you graduate from college, that first payment comes in, I got you. Take it straight out the brokerage account. Because again, like I said, if you're taking $10,000 to $20,000 a year out, you're going to be there for 4 years. That's like 70, 80 grand out of the 200 grand that you're capped out for a lifetime. So if you got 80 grand from the government and you got to pay that back with interest, and that 80 grand rose to 110 grand over the period of time that you put it up there, and probably 120 grand over the time that you put it out there, that 120 grand at 10% would be giving you back what, 12,000 a year. School ain't gonna ask you but more than 6. You're getting 15%. You're getting closer to 25,000 a year, right? And the school is still only gonna ask you for 6. So you're walking away with $15,000 a year that you don't got to give to the school. You could give it to the school and pay them back sooner, reduce your debt to credit income, improve your credit score. But the fact is that you're making more than what you're spending, right? And that's not what people tell people. But I tell y'all, I'm like, look, this is what y'all need to know when y'all start walking into college. Because if you would have knew this the first 3 years of your undergrad for your bachelor's degree, you would have been taking out a shit ton of student loans and catching them on the flip side. If I would have knew this when I was in college, I'd be a multimillionaire right now, because I would have made it off of just what they gave me. Now, building this kind of machine isn't really complicated, but it does require some precision. It comes down to 3 critical steps. You have to select the right components, build the automation engine, and then setting the rules. So when you're choosing your cash flow assets, these are going to be the machine components, the raw materials for the machine that you're going to be using to make your cash flow. You need to own assets that reliably generate cash flow. And that's why I talk to you guys about all the real estate investment trusts and the BDCs. Okay. This isn't the place for speculative bets or profitless growth stocks. You do not want profitless growth stocks in the position of cash flow generating stocks, which is why I grabbed you like 20 something stocks. Well, I grabbed you like 18 or 19 stocks that were all cash dividend stocks. Steven found 2 more. I added 1 to the portfolio. I'm going to add the other one to the portfolio after after I get my dividend drop, because I know I'm supposed to be getting another payment. And I'm like, let me throw this on this over here. And then one of the things I usually do, and I know it's not a lot of money that we get, but with the stock party, I've been getting a lot of stocks from the stock party. And I actually, 3 months after I held that stock, because before they used to tell us, well, you got to hold it for a certain period of time, otherwise you'll forfeit it. So I usually hold it for like 3 or 4 months and then I sell it. Now they're saying, oh, you can sell it as soon as you get it. I don't want to take that chance. So I hold it for 2 or 3 months. So the stocks that I got in May, in July and August, I'll probably be trying to sell those. Because I mean, yeah, they gave us some pretty decent ones. Like you can hold on to the Tesla stock, you can hold on to the Google stock and the Apple stock. I let it sit. Yeah, you let it sit there. I let it sit there too. But what I also do is after it sits for a few months, 3, 6 months, some of them that are up, only the ones that are up, those are the ones that I sell. I'm like, oh yeah, 50 cents here, 75 cents there, I'll sell it. And why do I do that? There is no reason to do it and there's no reason not to do it. But the reason why I do it is because that 20, 30, 40 cents, since I'm trading ETFs, I can use that money as a place value and buy that stock that you told me about the other day that I did all that research on, and then hold that stock in my portfolio until I get the money to put the $100 down on that stock. I'm not going to be looking for that stock. I'm going to be on my portfolio with money added to my portfolio, asking myself, which stock should I put money on? Well, that one is valuable and it's only got 22 cents on it. Let me put $100 on it. That's how I operate. So instead of me trying to find 75 cents that I can add to the portfolio so that I can get me a stock as a place value, I take one of the stocks from the stock party and say, oh, I bought that one in January. It's been sitting there for a while. It's up right now. I'll sell that, get 50 cents back, go and buy a stock. That's what I did with the Erie stock. I went and got I sold some stocks. I got like $1.50 off the stock party, put it onto the Erie stock. Then when I get $100, put $100 on stock option. Now I got to stock. The Erie stock can hold like 5% of the portfolio because I'm like, shit, growth and dividend paying stocks are good and long term. When you start thinking about 10 and 20-year performance, long term growth with dividends is more important than long term growth of the stock because the share price can continue to go up. And on paper, that looks good, but that's not putting money in your pocket. When you're grabbing stocks that the dividend increases year over year, that is golden because that means you're going to get more money year over year. The fast cash REITs that I give you are going to give you steady income, but that income's not going to grow. If anything, it'll get cut if the market hurts real estate investment any more than what it did over the last 10 years. But it's going to grow. Oh, well, it's not going to grow. It's going to stay the same. It's going to be consistent. The exact same shares, dividends per share that you get now is going to be the same dividends per share that you're going to get in 20 years if they don't split the shares and start giving you less dividends per share, right? So getting a stock that is a growth stock on dividends where it doubles in payment year over year, yeah, it's going to be like $1,000 stock in like 10 years, but it'll be paying you like $100. So that's the part that's important is that it's going to be paying you $100, right? So I look at those stocks like, yeah, I can grab those, but again, when you think about return on investment, like my portfolio, 60 to 80% REITs. Now, I can put 30 stocks together and rebalance the rest of it so that the highly volatile REITs and BDCs, that is a portion of a large portion of my portfolio, more than 70% of my portfolio, can offset all of the safe stocks that are 3, 5, and 10% return on investment, where I'm still averaging 15 to 18% return on investment, where I'm still outpacing the stock market, but I have more than 20 stocks. So it takes a little bit of fine tuning because if your goal is to accomplish two things, one, you want to have more stocks that are tax favorable, and two, you want to be making more money than the S&P 500. That means that you're going to have to lean heavy on high cash flow stocks, and then the other 70% of your portfolio as well stock wise, but not like distribution wise, the other 70% of your portfolio is going to be all tax favorable stocks. That means that a large portion of your money is not going to be hit with taxation, but the large portion of income that you get off your portfolio will be hit with taxation. So it'll work itself out where you're going to be getting a significantly larger quantity of money over a shorter period of time. But yeah, I let the stocks sit. But again, the stocks that are sitting are growth stocks. And that's why I'm selling them. I'm not selling them. If they would have gave me like 20 cents of a stock that was paying dividends, I'd hold that bitch forever. I might even add to it. But they're giving me a growth stock. They're giving me like, what was that? dividend juice, not dividend, but it was like marketplace juice, whatever. Let me look at that stock real quick. That they handed us in the stock party, and I looked at that shit and I'm like, man. So stocks that you can keep: Alphabet Incorporated, Class A stock. You can hold on to that. Amazon stock. You can hold on to that. Space Exploration Technology Corp. You can hold on to that. Walmart stock, Microsoft stock. They handed you those. You can keep those. Berkshire Hathaway. They gave us that one. You can keep that one. Tesla, Costco. You can keep that one. But this one here, Bonds Nationwide. That is an iShare Core US aggregated ETF bond. Technically, oh, this one pays dividends. Yeah, we can keep that one. This one pays dividends. Not a lot of dividends. It's like 4.52% per year, which is like 33 cents a share. Uh, yeah, we can hold on to that one. See, I wasn't paying attention to that one because that one was down. The ones that I had gotten rid of was like bundles. And it's some of the bundles that Stash App puts together to kind of help people, like the one that says widely held stocks, growth stocks, top stock bond earns, strong and stable stocks. They just give you like bundles. Some that's like energy, finance, consumer staples, and they just throw like a bunch of stocks together and put it into a package and give it to you as an ETF. And they're not really growth. They're growth stocks, but they're not really dividend paying stocks. And I'm like, I'm not gonna fuck with that right now. I don't really play with those. Those are the ones that are like Um, but then like Apple stock and some of the other ones, those are growth stocks too. Those are not dividend paying stocks. Tesla, I have Tesla going across the screen some nights. Tesla is a growth stock. So if you're trying to get an all dividend stock, even though Alphabet and Google and Tesla are good stocks to have as growth stocks, they're not necessarily good stocks to have as you're trying to have a whole dividend generating portfolio. See what I'm saying? So in that situation, I might sell my growth stocks and then reinvest into my dividend paying stocks just so that I can make sure that all of my stocks pay dividends. That's how you offset one thing to the next. Um, so we need to own assets that reliably generate cash flow. And that's one of the reasons why we're doing it like this. So this isn't a place for the speculative bets on anything or putting money on profitless growth stocks. And that's one of the reasons why I sell the stock parties that give me something that's not a positive growth, a cash generating stock. So we need that durable business mentality where we're creating something that distributes a portion of the profits to the owners. So we're really trying to make a habit of creating a portfolio where each company that we bet on is giving us money for betting on them, and they're giving us money regularly for betting on them, not only when we sell, right? So let's be clear about what dividends are for those people who don't understand it. It is a distribution of a company's earnings when a company pays a dividend. Its stock price typically drops by the corresponding amount. So why is that going to be powerful? Because it converts a piece of your equity into liquid cash inside of your account, cash that you can now redeploy. Whether you're redeploying it into the stock market to buy more shares into a brokerage account, redeploying it somewhere else to go and buy gold and silver, redeploying it to go and put down onto some Bitcoin, you're able to take the profits from your investment to go and invest in something else. A dividend automates this process for you, giving you capital to work with without having to sell the stocks yourself. So you don't have to sell anything. You can do like Steven and I do. You can buy and hold it and just forget about it and then just go back and collect your cash later, right? The way we do when we beat GTA, after you finish beating the game, then you wander around to all the properties that you bought, start getting paid every day. So you spend your whole day stealing cars and collecting rent money, right? Collecting profit money, right? Especially if you were either in San Andreas or Vice City, that's all you did. You went to different cities and got your money from any property that you bought that generates money. The dealership, the mechanic shop, the airport, wherever you went that money was being generated, you would travel the game and just collect money. And while you was out there, you would raise havoc at the same time. But you didn't have to work. You never had to go to a job. You didn't have to do a bunch of heists. Because I mean, it's a video game. They're not going to make you go to a 9 to 5 and flip burgers all day. But at the same time, you didn't have to complete missions to get money after you had generated enough money on the game. You could just live, right? And that's what we want to do with our real lives. We want to be able to not have to put in effort in our life to have money coming in. We want to just be able to live knowing that the money is going to come in. When we do international investing, you're only going to a country where your money is generating so that you can collect your money or live off the money while you're out there, right? So, how do we pick the right dividend paying stocks? You need a strict quality filter. First, you want to look for dividend history and growth with the dividends. So, you want a company with a long track record of increasing their dividends every single year. That's not the price of the share of the stock. That is the amount of money they give the shareholders for holding the stock. These are often called dividend aristocrats or dividend kings, companies that have raised their payouts for 25 or even 50 consecutive years. A history like that signals financial health and a commitment to the shareholders. So you want to think of stalwarts like Coca-Cola or uh, Procter and Gamble, places like that. Second, analyze the payout ratios. Now, this is going to be really important because this is going to be the percentage of a company's profits paid out as dividends. A moderate payout ratio, often in the 40% to 60% range for many stable companies, suggests the dividend is both safe and has room to grow. But this can vary a lot by industries. Utilities or REITs, real estate investment trusts, might have higher sustainable ratios. If a ratio is extremely high, like 90% or more, a small dip in profits for the company could put the dividend at risk. Real estate investment trust has the legal obligation to take 90% of their profits and give it to the customer, but they're also giving all of the taxable income to the customer too, which is why the customers have to pay taxes on their portfolio, even if it's a buy and hold. Third, you want to demand a strong balance sheet. Now, Stephen, if you look at the emails, certain times of the month, your stocks, they send you an email and say, hey, you can vote. That's because as a shareholder, if you click that link, you can go to those balance sheets, you can read that information, and you can put your 2 cents in on what they plan on doing with the money. If you don't like what's going on, you can pull out. But I'm going to be honest with you, for anybody who's willing to blindly put their money upon a stock just based off of the dividend distribution and percentage ratios, you can blindly look at the balance sheet and say, well, they're not going under anytime soon, and vote or not vote. But those people who are emotionally invested as investor aristocrats that look at a company and says, oh, he said the N word. I'm not putting my money in his stock company anymore, and pull out the stock. Hey, do what you got to do. Me, I'm going to let that stock dip because that person said the N word. And then I am going to bring my N word in there and buy all the little cheap ass stocks. Because when y'all forget that he said the N word, the value of that stock is going to go back up like Calvin Klein. Trying to tell y'all. Anybody who pulled their money out of anything because they were doing something that nobody liked, Target, everybody still put their money back into Target. Walmart, everybody put their money back into Walmart. Nike, everybody put their money back into Nike. And not just Calvin Klein, R. Kelly. they still buying R. Kelly music. Mystical, they still playing his music. You know what I mean? Busta Rhymes, after what he did in open public, they still buying his records. So I mean, it just takes for the trend to stop hating on a hater, and then the stock is gonna go back up. Don't invest emotionally, right? Now, the company should have manageable debt. No company is going to operate without debt. No lifestyle operates without debt. A business drowning in debt will always prioritize its lenders over you when it's going through some tough times. That's not to say that BDCs, which actually benefits from buying and selling or buying and leasing out debt, are not good to get into, because they're good because they'll buy somebody else's debt, mortgages, and get paid off the spread. They'll buy the invest in the mortgage and get paid off the spread, right? Meaning that it costs me less to fund you money than it costs you to pay me for it. I get paid off the spread. If I borrow money from somebody else at 4% and I sold that money to you at 14%, I get 10%. I get paid the difference on the spread. And that's what I was telling you to do with the student loans. If you're getting a student loan at 7% and you're able to put it into a brokerage account that's giving 15%, you're getting 8% on your return. And if you think about the 3% loss on taxation, you're getting 5% after taxes as a profit off of getting 7% that you owe them from them to put into a place where you're going to get way more money off of it than what you're going to give them back. So now you can give them whatever they're asking for and keep 5% more on the side for yourself after you pay for taxes. That's a profit. That's covering the spread. And that's what BDCs do. So notice how I took a multi-billion-dollar strategy and put it towards your college education to turn you a profit. You ain't going to school to learn something. You're going to school to meet people and make some fucking money. If you learn something while you're there, good job. But you're not going to school to learn something. It's about who you know, not what you know when you get out of school. It's about who you know and what you can do, not what you know when you get out of school, because book smarts can only hold you in a conversation when people are talking about book smarts. But can you get shit done when the conversation stops and the shit hit the fan? That's the question. And who do you know can pull strings to get us out of this situation or get us into another one? That's going to be important. So what you're capable of doing on a test has nothing to do with what you're capable of doing in business, because they don't do exams for you to get a corporate a contract. You have to talk about whatever this guy is interested in, leverage what you know about this guy, and then leverage who you know that has more authority over this guy than you do. That's how you get stuff done. Now, the fourth thing you want to do, you want to be aware of the yield traps. And this is going to be a classic mistake, because you're going to see stocks with 15% dividend. I'm telling you about some that are 22% dividends, and you're going to think that you struck gold. An unusually high yield can be a massive red flag to some people, and it often means that the stock price has collapsed because the market believes that the company is in trouble and the dividends is about to be cut. Now, one of the things that people don't realize is that stuff like REITs and BDCs that are very low now in comparison to what they were before, because some of those REITs that I tell you right now, even me and Michael did the research on it on the show. They used to be like $30 a share and stuff like that back in the day, and now they're $3 to $5 a share. They're considered penny stocks now. But them fucking penny stocks is paying. And these are companies that have been there for 30 to 50 years. So while all of the multi-billionaires moved their money to something a lot bigger, a lot flashier, they can live off of growth stocks because they have learned to borrow against the stone, invest in real estate, and have the tenant pay off the loan. So they keep the difference. If I can get a growth stock that is growing 10 times more than a dividend paying stock, and I can borrow against that growth, buy a property that has a tenant pay off the loan, the growth stocks don't have to pay off my portfolio. My tenants pay off my portfolio, right? So they don't have to lean on the BDCs and the real estate investment trust that I tell you guys about. We don't have 20 houses paying us rent. We work and pay for the one house that we live in, and we put money in a brokerage account to give us more money. So in order for us to borrow against that, we need an alternative source of income that is not our direct paycheck. And that's why I tell you, get an all cash dividend paying portfolio, build it up to 100 grand, borrow 50 grand, do what you got to do, and have the brokerage account pay back the loan. You took no money out of your pocket, but you got cash that you didn't have to pay for something that you needed or in some situations wanted. And now you don't have to pay that back because the brokerage account does it for you. You feel like you got something for free. And since the profits from the brokerage account is paying off a loan, you're not taxed on the brokerage account. So it washes out completely and you got stuff. Either you doubled down on your brokerage account or you bought a new car because your old car needed to be fixed. And I wouldn't buy a brand new car. I would just buy a new to me car, meaning that your 1980s model might not be fixable anymore. And you went and bought you a 2005 model. Yeah. Or you might have said, well, your 1980s model was perfectly fine, but you wanted to buy this 1960 Bel Air. Hey, either way, you could do it because the brokerage account will pay for it. And you can still do your day-to-day operation with your paycheck. For most people, a great starting point with dividend focused exchange trades funds, ETFs. These funds hold a diversified basket of dividend paying stocks, automatically filtering for many of these quality matrix. It does help you out with taking the thought process out of finding a good stock. But if you have 21 good stocks, and I said Steven's got 22 good stocks because he also has VOO as one of the ones in his portfolio. But VOO is a collection of companies. And it's giving you an average of all of those companies. And some of these companies that you have handpicked are in that list. But because you only have the volatile and the high dividend payers, all of the other ones that brings the stability into the portfolio that takes away from the average overall interest portfolio payout because you're benefiting from volatility. The difference is that you're going to be making more money off of the handpick selection. So if you drop VOO, which I mean you buy and hold, so you don't have to, but if you drop VOO and maintain your 20 to 21, you would be getting a lot more on your return than what you would by doubling down on your VOO. Now you can double down on VOO because I know the wealthiest people in the world say that there's three that you get. One of them was the S&P 500. The other one was VOO, and there was another one. I forgot which one that one was called. But if you get all three of those, you've got like 1,500 companies under your belt, already fully diversified, already protected against the market, and you really only have to deal with total market crash. Now, what I found, they're not wrong with that, but I found 20 of them that doesn't get hurt when the market sucks. So do I go for the S&P 500 that will dip 3% when Donald Trump opens his mouth, or do I get the 19 that I showed you that actually makes you a shit ton more money when Donald Trump opens his mouth? I prefer the 19 that I got for you guys, that every time Donald Trump speaks, I can get cheaper shares, and those shares are locked in, giving me certain quantities of money on a regular basis that not too many other stocks actually do. You're not going to get these prices off of gold. You're not going to get these prices off of Bitcoin or anything to that effect. And it's guaranteed. Even when I was talking to my neighbors earlier today, they're like, oh, yeah, you can just buy and hold on some Bitcoin. Yeah, but when you buy and hold Bitcoin, it's holding at 4%. If you buy and hold and don't sell, it's holding at 4%. So is a treasury bond. So why are you fucking around with Bitcoin at 4% return on investment to buy and hold when you can just hold on a treasury bond and buy and hold tax deferred? Notice whenever you give me an idea that has a opportunity cost a better idea to do the exact same thing, I tell you, hey, instead of doing that, why not do the one that gives you more benefit? A CD is way more stable than Bitcoin. Bitcoin gives more back because they're giving back 4%. CD is giving 3%, but neither one of them are tax deferred. Treasury bond is 4 to 4.1%. Treasury bond gives you more money on a buy and hold safe stock that is guaranteed after it matures to give you back your a return on investment without taxing you year over year on the growth. Still, 4%, 4.1% is a third of what we're getting off of the portfolio that I got for you guys, which is why Steven keeps telling you guys, and I tell you guys the same thing. Get into the membership. Grab the link out of the membership. Use the referral code. Get your $30. Start investing. That's what we tell you guys. Now, some popular ETFs in the market that we're talking about is like the Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF. This is a fan favorite that tracks an index of what, like 100 high quality dividend paying US stocks selected for financial strength. Vanguard High Dividend Yield ETF, VYM, provides broad exposure to US companies that are forecasted to have above average dividend yields. I'm going to give you this one because I know we haven't talked about this one before. And this one is not in the top. We have not talked about this one in the top 19 or 20. Oh, yeah, there's 50 more because notice halfway through the show, I clicked the button and there's a lot more stocks going across the top of the screen. There's like 54 stocks that I had collected over the last 2 years. And we've been following them over the last 2 years. And they're really holding the fort down. And in the membership, there is a whole lot of stuff in there, way more than stocks in there, but there's a whole lot of stuff in there that'll help you guys make, save, and invest money and make you guys better than what you were before you met this show. But as far as like improving your portfolio, oh yeah, there's that in there. But I can fix your relationship, I can fix your finances, I can fix how you interact with your family, fix how you interact with your job. There's a whole lot of stuff in there. There's a whole lot of stuff in there. You start scrolling, you be like, damn, your shit going back to 2023. You damn right. I've been doing this for a while. There's a lot of stuff in the membership. So this is the one, Vanguard High Yield Dividend ETF, VYM. And this is the one that's going to be giving you the broad spectrum exposure. Another one is iCore Dividend Growth ETF. We haven't talked about this one yet. Let me put each one of these in there for you guys because these are collective. These are collective ETFs where they have a group that has been curated. And then when you think about it, though, when you go and look these up, you're going to find that these have less percentage yield, but more stability than the stocks that I grabbed for you guys. But this one, DGRO, focuses specifically on companies with a high or with a history of consistently growing their dividends. So a high consistency of growing their dividends, that's going to be the ones that's going to be in the iShare Core Dividend Growth ETF. So you can also consider other assets like real estate investment trusts. These are companies that own income producing real estate in the United States. They are legally required, as I told you guys before, to pay out at least 90% of their taxable income to the shareholders as dividends. An ETF like the Vanguard Real Estate Investment Trust, VNQ, which we haven't talked about before on the show, can give you a broad exposure to this sector as well. The interest dividends paid on this one is not going to be nearly as high. So I want you to understand that. But it will give you access to the REITs that are involved and help you mitigate volatility. There's also, for example, we have a stock going across the screen called Coin, COIN, that is an ETF related to cryptocurrency investments. So instead of you riding the stock market or riding cryptocurrency and dealing with the volatility of Bitcoin, you can invest in an ETF that deals with the volatility of Bitcoin and get the stability of the growth of that portfolio of that stock option. Instead of having to deal with the direct exposure. And that's the same thing with real estate. Instead of starting up your own real estate business and trying to deal with the day-to-day hassle of managing properties, buying properties, renting them out, gauging the market, all of this other stuff, or hiring a property manager for them to do all this work for you, you could spin over to investing in real estate investment trust and building capital that way. by investing in a real estate investment opportunity instead of investing in a real estate itself and building a real estate investment opportunity. However, the more stuff you have, the more assets you have, the more assets you can leverage to get more capital. Putting a few $100,000 into a brokerage account is not going to give you the same status of assets as buying a few $100,000 worth of properties that are valued at a few $1,000,000. Big difference. Because if you buy $100,000 worth of real estate investment trust, you have $100,000 worth of real estate investment trust. If you bought $100,000 worth of properties where each property cost you $20,000 to get it, you bought 5 of them. And after rehabilitating each one of those houses is valued at $300,000. If you have 5 houses at $300,000, that's $1.5 million for the same $100,000 investment. That's way different than the $100,000 worth of stocks in the market. So the difference is, while yes, it's going to be a fucking headache. You have to build it up. You have to pay the taxes on it. You have to pay the employees. You might have to get a management company to do all the work for you and take a smaller cut. You have $1.5 million worth of property over here versus having 100 grand worth of capital over here. And the difference between the two is that you can leverage some of that $1.5 million to get more property, and you can only leverage safely 50% of your portfolio over here in order to get more portfolio, a larger portfolio. So you do want to get yourself into real estate once you make enough money, but you want to do it when you have enough money to get enough money, right? Now, the second step is going to be to automate the reinvestments, building the engine. Once you've selected your assets, you need to build the engine, which is called the dividend reinvestment plan, or DRIP. I turned off my DRIP. Steven's got his DRIP on. A DRIP is a simple instruction that you give your brokerage. When this stock pays a dividend, don't give it to me in cash. Use it to automatically buy shares of the very same stock, which is fine. I have no objections to it. It just makes it harder for you to rebalance profits from a high cash generating asset into a low cash generating asset that gives you more growth. So if you're using DRIP, you cannot take the dividend from Ellington Residential and put it on the Erie stock, because that's a manual transition. DRIP will take the money from Ellington Residential and put it back into Ellington Residential. In order for you to take the profits from Ellington Residential and put it into Erie stock, you have to not have DRIP and then redirect the money manually, and then take your principal from whenever you put your $100 a week into the portfolio and put it directly into the Ellington Residential stock, where you're adding, I would say, because if you're adding $400 a month into, well, actually think about it like this. If you did $100 a month into each one of the 3, Ellington Residential, Prospect Capital, and Orchid Island, and then take the other $100 and rebalance it towards the rest of the portfolio, the rest of the 17 shares or stocks, and then take the DRIP money, you would be adding $100 to each one of your REITs, and then taking the profit off of that and then spreading it across the rest of your portfolio, which means that you have to turn off the DRIP to do that. And you get the email, they tell you, hey, you got some money. Oh, okay. And then you go into your portfolio, look at where it is, look at the blueprint I wrote out for you versus where you wanted it to be, and say, okay, well, I might want to put $20 on this stock today, $10 on this stock, $5, $5, and then next month I might want to put the money on a different stock, depending on where it is versus where I want its percentage yields to be on my portfolio. And that's how you'll rebalance. So money goes into the 3 highest dividend paying stocks. The money comes out of it and goes into other stocks, and that requires you to turn off the DRIP. But if you wanted to do a fully automated, I don't have to think about it, put the money up there, let it do its thing until I retire, turn on your DRIP. This way, you put your money onto the principal, you balance it however you want to balance it, and then just forget about it. And it'll keep growing on its own, right? Most major brokerages offer the DRIP option, and you can usually enable them with the click of a button. A lot of the times by checking reinvest dividends box on your holdings or activating drip on your stash account. So why is this powerful? Well, first, it automates things. It removes you with all of your human biases from the equation. And that's truly powerful because in the moment that you have the opportunity to reinvest profits back into the portfolio, you also have the same opportunity to sell at a panic on other things. Likewise, while you have the capabilities to reinvest profits back into your portfolio, you also have the impulse of depositing the money into your savings account to cover bullshit that you want to spend money on. So, removing your impulse out of the reinvestment process, that is huge. The cash will never hit your spendable balances. It never encourages you or tempts you to withdraw the money. It's immediately put back to work, eliminating the risk that you'll forget to reinvest it or decide to spend it on something else. And forgetting to reinvest it is going to be the issue because even if you're the most responsible investor, but since you only get paid once a month, you didn't check your emails, you forgot, the money dropped, it cleared, you haven't done anything with it, it's just sitting there, and certain stocks that could have been invested in has crossed over its ex-dividend date, and you have this capital just hanging out. That's opportunity lost. So having it to be reinvested manually takes a lot more effort than having it automatically reinvested so that you never miss out, even if you haven't looked at your portfolio in 6 months. Second, it uses financial shares. So if a stock is $100 and you get a $10 dividend, a drip will buy you 0.10 shares on a $100 stock, which is 10% of the share since you're trading with ETFs. This means every single penny is put back to work immediately, maximizing the power of compounding. So if you had a $100 stock and you got a $10 dividend on it and you bought that stock, you would have $110 worth of stock now, which if it's giving you basically 10% dividend on it, it would be giving you $11 back because you had $110 worth of stock the second time around. That's compounding interest. Third, it enforces automatic dollar cost averaging, DCAs. Dividends are typically paid quarterly, but the real estate investment trusts are paid monthly. We do have a couple of stocks that pay semi-annually, and we have one or two of them that pays annually out of the 54, right? This means that your machine is automatically buying more shares 4 times a year. When prices are low, during a market downturn, your fixed dividend payments automatically buys more shares. This forces you to buy when assets are on sale. How do you enable this? Well, the process is going to be similar across most brokerages. For example, on Fidelity, you would look for dividends and capital gains under your account features. On Charles Schwab's, you might see a reinvest, right? And that column is going to be on your position page. The key is to be proactive. I do believe in Stash App is going to be somewhere in the settings of your profile. And since they keep updating the app, I can't remember exactly where the drip setting is, but it is a on or off thing where you either reinvest all of your shares or none of your shares. It doesn't give you the opportunity at this point to select which stocks you do drip on and which ones you don't. I think that would be a fantastic upgrade because if you select which stocks get the automatic reinvestment and which ones don't, then you could set all of the tax advantage stocks as drip and then have your real estate investment stocks not as a drip. And then you can manually rebalance those into the other accounts, which allows you to half of the work is done for you because the ones you're going to continue to grow on are growing. And then your highly volatile cash generator is putting more money into the stability of the growth stocks. Now, don't assume it's on by default. especially for individual stocks and ETFs. It's not on by default. You either turn it off or you turn it off. Turn it on or turn it off. Go into your account settings and verify that the engine is switched on for every component if you want it switched on for all of them. And if you don't want them switched on, you go in there and make sure that it's turned off across the board. Now, you want to set your behavioral rules for yourself, not necessarily the program, because a brokerage account, fintech, it is going to do whatever it is going to do based on settings. So your operating system is going to be how your behavior rules are going to be. And this is going to be the final step. And this is going to be the most important step. It has nothing to do with the stocks. It has everything to do with you. You need to program yourself with a set of simple, unbreakable rules. And this is going to be your operating system. Rule number one, dividends are not income, they are capital, right? So this is a huge mental shift. You have to stop seeing dividends as payments, as extra bonuses that I can go and splurge with. So from this day forward, every dividend is internal, non-spendable manufacturing capital, which is going to build your future for retirement. Its only purpose is to be reinvested. It's the psychological hack that makes this work. Because if you think about, I just got paid, and then you're going to put it into your bank so that you can spend it, you're not living for your future, you're living for the present, and you don't want to live for the present. I was, like I told y'all today, like young Bucky 35, Steven's 36, I'm 41, Michael's 72. And you got to understand, when we get to Michael's age, we want to not have to worry about Social Security, disability, veterans benefits, or any other government facility scenario where they're going to be giving us a limited quantity of money to live off of. We want to have, by the time we reach it to Michael's age, we want to have enough money coming out of somewhere where our standard of living is either stable the way it is right now or better than what it is right now. I know Stephen wants to own his own house if he doesn't already own one. If you own your own house, you want to pay off your house and potentially be able to maintenance your house while living in another country and traveling the world and stuff to that effect. Going to vacations and exploring new things. You don't want to just sit in your house all day watching TV and looking out the window. You want to be able to go places and do stuff. So, in order to do that, you have to invest in your future lifestyle, not your present lifestyle. Right? Rule number two, the machine never stops, especially during a crisis. With all the shit that's happened in the last 3 months, only thing I have been telling y'all, and Steven's actually been doing it, is invest in your portfolio. Put your money on those volatile stocks because now is the time for you to make money for you, right? Market crashes are terrifying to a lot of people. Your gut's going to scream at you to turn off the machine, especially if you're dealing with growth stocks and you're just watching your money disappear and never coming back. You have to resist the urge of turning off the faucet. A market crash is when the machine becomes the most powerful. When prices fall, your dividend payments are now buying way more shares than before. So, since you're living off of the dividends, not the growth of the share price value, if the share price value goes down, you can buy more stocks at a cheaper price. That's what you want. A downturn is a hot sale for you. That is like getting Gucci Couture or Louis Vuitton or something like that on fucking clearance. That's like getting Chanel on clearance. That's like the 300 something dollar bottle of I can't believe it's not butter, some Jack Daniels or some shit, getting it on clearance. Right? Y'all know what clearance look like at Walmart. You be seeing shit that used to be like $600, $700, $1,000, now $10 and $20. You want to go to a stock market and you want to experience the same thing. You want to see a $250 stock for $5, right? That's what you want to see. You want to get that with 75% off. That's what you want to get. So when the stocks take a dump, that's a win for you. That's not a win for the multimillionaire. That's a win for you. Turning off your drip during a crash is like shutting down the factory right when the raw materials are going on clearance. You do not want to turn off your drip when the market sucks. Technically, if you're going to let it drip, you can do the drip year round. But If you were going to turn off the drip, you would likely turn off the drip in a bullish market where instead of buying more high priced stocks of the same stock, that you would buy into the other stocks in your portfolio that are doing bad at that time. So if your REITs are like Score, they doubled in value. You went from buying them at $2.50 a share. Now they're worth $5 and $10 a share. You might want to stop buying them right now and start buying some of the other stocks that are down 15% on the share value and boost that up more. And then when the REITs start tanking again and start going back to being $3 and $5 a share, then you start going back and buying back in them. That's why I said right now, while most of those REITs are under $10 a share, where they used to be over $10 a share, you buy as much of them as you can. And then when the price exceeds the $10 a share, you stop buying them and start putting all your money on the other stocks. Rule number 3, you're going to be the operator, not the commentator. In an age of 24/7 financial news, it is easy to get caught up in the noise. I recommend that you don't do that. You have Putin's debating, analysts changing rates. Ignore all of that. If you want to get insight on some shit that's really important, you probably want to just come here or ask me in the membership after the show. One of the two. Because if you come to me about what's going on with how you do what you do with your investment options, I'm going to do some detailed research and come back to you. And I'm going to tell you, depending on what you're trying to accomplish, these are the 3 to 5 different ways that you can go about doing it. Every time Steven gives me a stock and says, "Hey, what about this?" Steven will tell you, I not only tell you the history of the stock, I give you 3 ways to add it to your portfolio. I give you ways to rebalance your portfolio. If you're gonna add it, this is how you add it. If you're gonna replace it, this is the one that you want to replace. I don't recommend you replace anything, but if you want to replace something, this is what you can replace. This is what you can do, right? Or if you're trying to do something like when he asked me about CarMax, and I'm like, yeah, CarMax is good, but I mean, who the fuck can afford to buy a car right now? CarMax is a good stock to get in 10 years. It's good to buy into now while it's financially struggling, but you're not trying to turn a profit off of CarMax over the next 5 years. So if you're trying to get that as a 10 or 15 year scenario, CarMax might be a good thing, especially now. So, Steven, to answer your question about CarMax from when you asked me that question like a month and a half ago, CarMax would be going forward in 2028, 2029, and 2030 a better option than Dodge, Ford, Chevy, and all this. And the reason why is because all of the Americans that do not want what they just found out in 2026, the technology that is surveillancing you while you're driving your vehicle, they're going to stop buying brand new cars and start buying certified pre-owned vehicles. And CarMax is one of the largest companies that sell certified pre-owned vehicles, where you will be buying vehicles before 2026 that doesn't have all of that tech in it that will allow you to live the life the way you normally live and still have a car in excellent condition with no mechanical failures in it upon purchase. So probably in 2 to 3 years, CarMax is going to be a booming company because more people are going to be buying used cars, certified pre-owned vehicles, than people that are buying brand new cars. And CarMax doesn't put garbage cars on their lot. You're not going to see a 20-year-old car on the CarMax lot. You're going to see 10-year-old cars, 5-year-old cars, last year's car, but you're not going to see 25-year-old cars on a CarMax lot. You see 25-year-old cars on a buy here, pay here mom and pop shop, usually in a low income neighborhood. So your job is not to react to every headline. Your job is to be the stoic operator of your machine. You designed it to do certain things. You got to trust the process. Your only task is to perform periodic maintenance and let it do its job. Don't meddle. Trust the system. These 3 rules are the code that will run your investment strategy. Internalize them. The mechanics of investing are easy. Managing your own behavior is hard, nearly impossible. Ultimately, impulse decisions prevents you from investing in your portfolio to begin with. Typically, you have every intent to put money onto your brokerage account. You have every intent to build up savings. You have every intent to build up emergency funds. But then when John Cena's customized WWE championship title comes out in October, your ass might want to get a replica of that bitch and it might cost you like $800. So much for investing. GTA 6 pre-orders, $100 for the Ultimate Edition. So much for investment. PlayStation Live might start charging you a lot of money so that you can go live on GTA 6 for the next 2 years. So much for investing. Impulse decisions for lifestyle choices changes the way you invest because you're going to pay your base bills on a regular basis. And then the luxuries in life that actually become standard practice. If you're the kind of person that smokes weed like Snoop Dogg, you might be spending $1,000 a month on your ganja. I ain't got no beef with you on that. But you know what? Because you have made that a necessity, it is a luxury in life. It is a recreation. You don't even have to be addicted to it. You can quit whenever you want. That's what addicts say. But the fact is, as long as you choose not to quit, you are throwing away $250 an ounce, $300 an ounce, especially if you're getting the good stuff, plus the rolling papers, blunt wraps, lighters, grinding machines, bongs, all of the other stuff that you use to get this stuff done. Then modern day, y'all got the edibles, y'all got the wax, y'all got the dabs, y'all got the liquid CBD oils, all of the stuff that y'all get for this particular type of habit that could cost you well over $1,000 a month, which costs you like $12,000 a year. So if your $30,000 a year lifestyle or $40,000 a year lifestyle has a $15,000 a year habit on top of it, that's a $50,000 a year income, and you're wondering why you're living paycheck to paycheck. Lifestyle creep on top of discretionary spending for personal entertainment. And it's unnecessary personal entertainment. It's not movie night with the kids and the family bonding. It's getting toked up with your homies on the block. Your livelihood doesn't benefit from that. Right? So investing in your future actually changes the way you decide to spend your money because instead of buying a case of beer to get drunk with your homeboys, you're looking at the stock market like, you know what? That money could go towards this stock market and I could just go buy me like some Kool-Aid and let that go a long way or get me a couple cans of Arizona tea or some ginger ale or some shit. Let that go a lot further than, you know what I mean? Because when you think about how much money you could be getting versus the fact that, yeah, hanging out with the bros, that's it. That's all we get. We hang out with the bros. There's nothing else there. And I mean, yeah, bonding, that is a high quality thing that you want to have. But do you want to bond while you're young or have all the free time in the world when you're old? Because if you're bonding in the moment in between struggles when you're young, eventually you're going to get so old that you can't work anymore and you're not going to be able to support your standard of living. Wouldn't it make more sense to grind while you're young so that you're old to do whatever the fuck you want? And then you got plenty of time to tell the young bucks how you made it. You still gonna be bonding because the squad is gonna be sitting next to you trying to learn from you how the hell they can get big time like you big time. And you got everybody's attention. But you got everybody's attention while you're stable instead of only having everybody's attention while you're struggling in between struggles. So, what would this look like in practice? Let's run a simple example just to see the mechanisms at work. If you ignore the price changes for just a moment and assume steady dividends just to isolate the power of reinvestment. If you have a person that has, say, $50,000 in an investment and it's in a dividend portfolio with an average yield of like 4%. Nearly what I would do, not nearly what I would do, right? In year one, the machine gets to work and $50,000 in a portfolio generates $2,000 in dividends. $50,000 times 4 in the drip. Because if you're using the drip, it's going to be $2,000 that is automatically reinvested, right? Year two, portfolios at $52,000. So in that year, you're going to be generating $2,080, which is your $52,000 times the 4%. So in this situation, the dividend salary went up, not because the companies paid more money, but because you simply own more shares. Now that's 4%. If you had $50,000 and you were getting closer to the 20% or 22% that I've been talking to you guys about these REITs, that $50,000 would have gave you like $10,000, which is way sexier, right? Which means you would now have $60,000. So in year two, right, you're starting with 60 instead of 50, you would have got 15, which means that your 60 would be 72, which is way sexier, right? That's when compound interest starts getting heavy. Most people talk about the stock market off of the average 10% because it's easy to show compound interest off of 10% of an interest of an investment opportunity. But the portfolio in the brokerage or the brokerage account portfolio in the membership that I'm showing you about, it like that motherfucker is doing way better than 15%. You're getting 11% more off of the numbers that me and Steven have been talking to you guys about than the 4% in this example, right? But if you think about it, in year three, same portfolio that's only getting 4% interest is now worth $54,080, generating $2,163. You reinvest that year four, you're at $56,243, which is generating an extra $2,250, and you reinvest that, right? In 4 years, you started at $50,000, and in 4 years, without adding another penny, you didn't already went up to $56,000 on your principal investment. Now, clearly, that's not how it would have worked if you'd have been operating with what I was talking to you guys about, the 15%, because you would have been getting $15,000 for every $50,000 you had in the bank. So you'd have been looking at, year one, you would have been up 10,000. Year two, you've been up like another 15,000 or 12,000. And then year three, you'd have been up another 15,000, 12,000. So you probably by year four, you would have been sitting somewhere in the middle of $70,000 or $80,000 when you're getting 20% return on investment, right? This is going to be the exponential growth loop. So if you fast forward a little bit, keep it simple, and we're going to keep our assumptions going. After 10 years, that same initial $50,000 without adding another penny would have grown to over $74,000 in 10 years. Same $50,000 at almost 20% return on investment would have probably grown to $100,000, right? So the portfolio will be generating nearly $3,000 a year on its own at the 4% rate for $74,000. But if you're, again, getting closer to 20% on your portfolio with almost 100 grand in the account, you'd be likely getting 20 grand a year back on your investment. And the average individual would likely be living the kind of lifestyle that is roughly around $24,000 to $30,000 a year of base expenses. So if 10 years could put you in a scenario where your standard of living is paid for by your brokerage account, you don't have to work anymore. You choose to work, which allows you to double down on your portfolio so that 10 more years down the line, you will be making twice as much money off your brokerage account than what you make off of your job, which allows for you to retire. If you started in your 30s and rocked it to your 50s, you could quit before your 60s and be making more money back off of your portfolio than you could get from the government with Social Security, disability, or a pension from your job. If you started in your 30s and you rocked it for 30 years and now you're in your 60s and now you say, you know what, let me stop now. You didn't crossed over $1 million long time ago. You've tripled your income. And now, not only can you maintain your standard of living, you can upgrade your standard of living, still be able to maintain it, still be able to reinvest into your brokerage account, still be able to take 20 or 30 grand and travel the world with it every year. Nobody thinks about this, but we talk about this stuff on a regular basis. So if you were doing like a 3% return on investment, after 20 years, your portfolio will be worth over $109,000. You and I both know that if you were investing in a portfolio over 20 years, but you're getting back 20% return on investment, it'd be well over 150 to $200,000 if you didn't put anything else in it. If you just let it sit there on its own drip situation, where on a 4% return on investment, you'd be getting like $4,300 a year, but on a 20% return on investment, at almost 200 grand, you'd be getting like 40 grand a year. Think about it again. If we're looking at 30 years, $50,000 off of a 4% return on investment where you don't add anything else into it, you'd be at closer to 162,000 a year. You're looking at $30,000 a year, this $50,000 with 20% return on investment. If that was rolling for 30 years, you'd be upward of $300,000 or $400,000 a year. Right now, you're looking at 4%, you'd be getting $6,400 a year. But if you look at that 20%, you would probably be getting something closer to $50,000 a year. Yeah, which is more than triple what you started. And if you were doing it with me, it would be more than triple this. It'd be quadruple what you started, right? This is the self-funding mechanism in action. And if you were to continue to add on to it, you got to understand if you added on top of the self-funding mechanism, you would be expediting growth. I know it's slow, it's quiet, but it's a process. But over decades of doing this, the force of compounding becomes an avalanche. In the beginning, it doesn't matter to you. Like you look at how, yeah, it might give me $100 in a month, but I can make more than that in an hour on my job. Right. But if you were building this money over the course of the last 5, 10, 20 years, if you would have been doing this in your 20s and now you're in your 30s, you would have put 10 to 15 years towards it. And likely you would be making $15,000, $20,000 a year off of what you've been doing since you were 20. If you just started doing it this year and you've only got $1,000 and you're only getting like $200 a year, you're not going to really feel it. Yeah, I know I got $200 in a year, but bro, I could get that $200 off of a horse race. I could get that $200 off of a scratch off, right? It's not, it doesn't, you don't feel like there's anything there because right now you haven't put a lot into it. And for a lot of people, you're getting really low return on investments for very high secure growth on the sell price of the stock, not the dividend distribution. You're getting security on the sell price of the stock, right? So you got to remember, without adding any single dollars to the investment, every dollar of growth after that first year of investment is going to be purchased by the portfolio. But if you wanted to stack up on top of that, whatever it's going to be doing for itself, you do more for it, which expedites its ability to get bigger faster. And that's the part where putting away, $300, $500 a month into your brokerage account can have you not be broke by the time you reach retirement age. It don't feel like nothing today, but keep doing it. Keep doing it. Any type of unnecessary discretionary spending that you could otherwise redirect to something else. Because you can do everything that you want to do in life. But if you say, well, I go with my homeboys to the strip club twice a month. Well, if you take your strip club money and put it into the brokerage account, you won't be broke by the time you reach retirement age. You say, yeah, I go clubbing 3 times a month. Well, if you take your clubbing money and go put it into the brokerage account, you won't be broke by the time you retirement age. Right? All it takes is to cut off something unnecessary. And what would you consider unnecessary? I don't know. Nobody's asked me that before in my life, but I'm going to tell you right now. Unnecessary spending is something that doesn't benefit you and ultimately contradicts your ability to achieve your goals. So How you doing? Nothing is true. Trolling us for the first time. I don't understand why it says live, and you're going to ask me, is it a recording? But just to entertain the question, we don't do recordings. This is a podcast that is live 7 nights a week. So if you're here, it is because we're live. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yes. So it is considered trolling specifically because you came in. No, it's not the graphics, my son. Again, you're trolling because if you're looking at bad graphics, it's not a recording. Who would put low pixelation on a recording when they could do high definition? You put low pixelation on a recording so that you can reduce the frame dropping so that it's not skipping frames when the connection is not as stable as you'd want it to be, which would actually mean that if it's low visual graphics, it's probably a live podcast. That's common sense thinking. Yes, I know. I know you. I know. I know I'm good. Then the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. Because this is the only podcast on social media that's teaching you how to be better in your life so that your life doesn't suck. And nobody can tell me the truth and say that their life doesn't suck because no matter how much money you got living from paycheck to paycheck, I know that there's something in your life right now that you wish wasn't going the way it was going. And all you needed is an external set of eyes looking at your situation to find you an alternative to change that scenario so that you can no longer be frustrated by whatever the fuck's going on in your life. I already know everybody's got something in their life that get on their fucking nerves. And a lot of times, what people do to distract them about the things that get on their fucking nerves is they doom scroll on social media, which is why I popped up on your For You page. Because at 2 o'clock in the morning, there is no reason why you should not be in bed, sleep, if you're not at work making money. And besides the fact that you bored out of your mind, and you bored out of your mind because you stressed about something that you got on your mind that you can't get past, and that's why you're not in bed sleep. So you're on social media doom scrolling, and that's how you popped up here. Now, back to the show. The basic drip strategies that we discussed will put you ahead of most of the investors because not a lot of people think about this stuff. It doesn't matter from the other side of the planet, my man, because there's a lot of people from Belarus that watches this show. Special shout out to Belarus, Kazakhstan, Belize. Um, I can't think of all of the shows that actually watches all of the countries that actually watch the show, but more than half of this channel is coming from Bangladesh. A special shout out to Bangladesh as well. You got a lot of people that watch us from the other side of the country, and it's afternoon time on the other side of the world. But I also recognize that special shout out to OG Kicks. Uh, from the other side of the world, if you're sitting here in the middle of the afternoon doom scrolling on social media, you're doom scrolling on social media for one of two reasons. Either you came here to learn something because you've been here before, or you're doom scrolling because you don't have anything else to do because you don't have anybody of value that you want to spend time with and you can't go to sleep yet. Typically, you find yourself doom scrolling on social media as a byproduct of escaping the reality that you're in, where the reality that you're in is not favorable to yourself. Because if you love the life that you were living in, you wouldn't be on your phone watching social media. The only people that come here by choice because they want to learn more about it. The people who come here by accident because they were doom scrolling on social media because they had nothing else of value to do. But if your life was stable, you would have a lot of valuable things to do. Making money for yourself, enjoying the life that you've built with the money that you made for yourself, spending time with the people that you value, spending time in different countries, building memories with the people that you value. You wouldn't have time to doom scroll because you would be in reality, living reality. You got some people that get on social media, they get not just on social media, they get on like online games and they're like the most dominant player on the game because they're fucking on the game all the time. 18 hours a day on the video game, and then all they do is sleep. Some countries they call them neats, the kind of people that's got no job, no education, no nothing going for them. They just stay on video games all day long. the most dominant character on the game. But in reality, they're the most non-valuable person in society because they don't contribute to anything. If you had a fulfilling life, you wouldn't be online unless you were here to learn something. If your life is missing something, you're going to fill that void by doom scrolling on social media, unless you're here trying to learn something. It's impossible to be productive 24/7. Well, nobody said you had to be productive 24/7, but you are doom scrolling on social media, which is counterproductive. Because let's look at this real quick. If we have you're supposed to sleep about 8 hours a day. Some people sleep less, some people sleep more, right? That means that you have 16 hours a day of guaranteed awake time. The average person typically works between 8 to 10 hours a day. The average person. Some people work more and work 12 hours a day. The people who work 8 to 10 hours a day sometimes have a 1 to 2 hour commute round trip, which still puts them at work for 12 hours. And the people who work 12 hours a day still might have a 1 to 2 hour commute, which gives them, again, an extra 2 hours, which puts them at about 14 hours out of the 16 hours of awake time, which gives you 2 hours, 2 to 4 hours of downtime. Now, that's 2 to 4 hours per day of downtime, not including your days off. Unless you're working a second job, you got 2 to 4 hours of downtime. That 4 hours of downtime should be spent living life with real people that you can actually touch. Okay. That's where that 4 hours is supposed to be. If you're not making money, make money for you, where 2 hours out of your 4 hours, you're putting yourself involved in another financial opportunity that'll make more money for you. And the other 2 hours are going to be with family and friends that matter to you. The whole 4 hours is going to be with the family and friends that matter to you. So if you have a 4 hour window and that 4 hour window you spend online not making money for yourself, that's counterproductive because you live paycheck to paycheck. Most of the people that come to this channel live paycheck to paycheck. The average American lives paycheck to paycheck, which ultimately means that if you're not trying to find a way to get a second paycheck that doesn't require your immediate presence, you're counterproductive on your future because while you're able bodied right now, 20, 30, 40 years old, when you're 60, 70, 80 years old, you're not going to be able bodied. You have no plan for 30 years from now when you are no longer capable of doing what you do today to make money then. And right now, you're not doing anything to set that up so that money is being made for you. So when you age out of the workforce, where you're either physically capable of no longer physically capable of doing it or no longer willing to do it, you have no plan to quit. You have no plan to stop. You have no plan to officially retire, meaning you don't have to quit your hard physical manual labor job and then go work at Walmart as a door greeter. You literally stop working and your bills are paid for the rest of your life. You don't have a plan for that right now. And that's why you're doom scrolling on social media. Nobody has that plan. And we're going to start building that plan on this podcast, which is why I talk to people every day about it. Is that if someone works for most of the day, they would rest for the 4 hours. No, you wouldn't. You have 8 hours of sleep. That is your rest. So what 4 hours? What are you doing for 4 hours while you're awake, not sleep for the 8 hours of sleep time? What are you doing that is going to benefit yourself so that you don't have to work like that? Because again, retirement is going to give you the whole 16 hours of day with nothing to do. If you're living a kind of lifestyle where you only have 4 hours of downtime that you're awake, you still got 8 guaranteed hours of sleep. For some people that sleep 4 to 6 hours a day, you actually have 8 hours of uptime, 6 to 8 hours of uptime. And again, you're wasting it on social media, not benefiting yourself financially. He says, sir, do happy chatting live today, man. Agreed, sir. Okay. Well, it was good listening to you. I think you're here. No, why not? Why not? trying to figure out how does that not work? Because if you're not doing anything to improve your future today, you're counterproductive. If you don't have a game plan right now that you are implementing right now, where that 4 to 6 hours of downtime is utilized towards improving yourself, then you're not benefiting your future. You've got to understand that inflation is not just a dynamic that is discussed on political terms as far as how much it costs for life to be. There is an effort inflation, and I should probably cover that on the show. The older you get, the more effort you have to put into getting average shit done. The less capable you are, the more often than not you have to pay somebody else to do shit for you. You have to make more money to cover the time of your life when you can't afford to get up out of bed and go and clean your whole house, and now you got to get a housekeeper. That's extra money out of your pocket. Not a girlfriend, a housekeeper, right? There's going to come a time in your life when you can't get outside and cut your grass, and you got to go get you a landscaper. There's going to come a time in your life where you're not going to have a driver's license anymore, and you're going to have to get a chauffeur, right? And that time in your life, you're supposed to have an income there to cover the cost of the help. You have not planned for that. Most people haven't. He says, yeah, the wars are not helping the economy either. The wars are helping the economy a lot. You know why? Because first and foremost, all of the stocks that I talked to you guys about are impacted by the wars. And if you're investing in them, they're dirt cheap. So poor people who don't make 100,000 a year, and that's going to be a majority of Americans, like 76% of Americans, actually don't make 100,000 a year. They don't have stocks. So the stocks that used to be unaffordable by the average American is now affordable by the average American. So if the average American stopped wasting a bunch of money on um, running out there and buying the next pair of Jordans and buying the collaborative swatch that's out there for 200 something dollars and name brand clothes and shoes and all this other stuff that fucks around and costs you money and gets you a bunch of extra stuff that doesn't benefit you at all. Uh, for broke people, if you were to wear expensive name brand clothes, other broke people will look at you like, oh, you had enough money to buy that brand, but your ass is still broke, which doesn't really benefit you at all. Um, the ultimately the situation, the way we look at it right now, it puts us in a position where we're not going to benefit from. Ooh, I tripped up and blocked the wrong person. I was having a good conversation with him. I was trying to ban the other guy, but I hooked around and banned the wrong guy. Oh well. Either way, the dynamic is this. Look, overall, and a lot of people don't really want to hear it. The fact is that overall, you you have a lifestyle that you're living right now, paycheck to paycheck, and you're not going to be able to make that paycheck forever. You have the type of income that you're satisfied with, but it's for the lifestyle that you have. You're not going to be able to have a better standard of living without making more money on your job. If you make more money on your job and you increase your lifestyle, it's a lifestyle creep, but now you're still living paycheck to paycheck. If you lose your job, you lose your lifestyle. If you get a demotion on your job or a pay cut on your job, you lose your lifestyle. If you get a pay cut on your job and your partner makes money, and now you're fighting over money in your family, which you lose your lifestyle. This is the stuff that we talk about on a regular basis that people don't pay attention to, right? So the the economy would be just as fine because I understand people are thinking, well, it's the inflation. Ah, the conflict with the war, yeah, it costs gas to go up where we're paying an extra $700, $800 a year for gas. Some people might be paying an extra like $10,000 a year for gas if they're paying $1,000 a month for gas. But the fact is, uh, even with the tariffs, even with inflation on gas prices, even with the inflation of food prices because of gas prices, the fact is that your ability to hedge the cost of living versus the stocks that I tell you guys on a regular basis that would make your future better, life is never going to get cheaper. That's what you have to understand. It's never going to get cheaper. It's never going to go back down to a quarter of will fill your whole car. It's never going to get cheaper. You're never going to be in a situation where in the future, um, rent is going to still be $1,000 a month. Rent is only going to be $1,000 a month in a low income neighborhood. And actually, in a low income neighborhood, rent's going to be closer to $2,000 a month in the next couple of years, right? In a moderately good neighborhood, rent is like $3,000 to $5,000 a month. Look at what's going on in New York, $5,500 a month for a 2 bedroom apartment. You have to understand that you have to prepare yourself for future costs. There's actually a 4% increase on the standard of living that you currently have. That is a mandatory guaranteed increase that's going to happen. If you are not making decisions today to change the way your money is being made, you are not benefiting yourself because of not just everything I've told you, because also outside of aging out of the workforce, technology is replacing people. If you do not have a second source of income when you get fired because a toaster is doing your job better than you are not preparing for your future because that's the direction that we're going. This country is heading into an economy where more people are making money at home and less people are making money in the street. Okay. And big business is firing human workers and replacing them with machines on a regular basis. 500,000 people lost their jobs over the past 12 months because of machines, not because of the Mexicans, because of machines. Okay. And you have to understand, even with the 13 million immigrants that are in the process of getting deported, you have not seen an increase in job availability. In fact, you've seen a decrease in job availability because out of the 13 million immigrants that were being deported for not having their citizenship properly established, a lot of them were business owners, and a lot of them paid into the low costing portion of economy that gave you your hourly wage. So when 13 million Mexicans left the country, or as they're leaving the country, those Mexicans that used to spend in places where you were getting paid big money to deal with this type of marketplace, the marketplace isn't there anymore. You went from full time to part time because a large majority of low income spenders were removed from the country. And low income jobs for low income spenders no longer have the hours to pay for employees. So for every one Mexican that got deported, 4 Americans lose a job. Oh, we didn't look at those numbers. And that's before the machines start taking jobs. Amazon unionized, but they fired 200,000 human employees before Amazon unionized. Now, if you need a job, if you don't join the union, you're not working at Amazon. The union's going to have fees. So if you join the union, while you might get a guaranteed pay, you also have dues that you got to pay the union, which means that you're getting paid less. Nobody talks about that part. Shit gets crazy. He said toasters do have a tendency to outwork me some days. Bro, my microwave be burning. I got two microwaves so that I can use both of them at the same time because I got so much shit that's being microwaved because I don't have a female up in here making me a damn sandwich. But it's a principle of the fact that we replace humans with machines. We replace humans with machines. And that's not right. But that's the way life is. And because that's the way life is, that is why we do not pay attention to the fact that the way 2026 is not as bad as the way 2036 will be and the way 2046 will be. What we just finished talking about with the nuclear power is a 25-year plan. From 2026, it'll be 2051 before electricity is cheaper. But over the next 10 years, between 2026 and 2036, electricity is going to be higher. Oh, yeah, we talked about the guns. Yeah, more Americans are going to have guns. But while gun prices aren't going down, more of us are going to get harassed because we're walking down the street with a gun. We talk about housing. They're charging $5,000 a month for rent right now in 2026. You already know that you're going to be charging $7,000 and $8,000 a month for rent in 2046 in New York and California and Florida and Texas, four of the most expensive areas in the country. So if you don't have $5,500 a month for rent, you're moving out of New York, gentrification, and moving into the middle of America, Connecticut, Kansas, Tennessee, Arkansas, Wyoming. You might move to one of the places in the South, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. Not if you got a good tan, but you're trying to go to a cheaper place to have your money stretched a lot further. But if you were investing in your future with the extra money that you don't need to live the lifestyle that you have, you actually could afford to live in New York in 20 years. You actually could afford to live in California on the beach in 20 years. It just really requires you to be fiscally responsible somewhere else. All right. Back to the main topic. So, since the basic drip strategy is going to have you guys ahead of most of the, and this is going to be most investors, not just most of the beginner investors, most of the advanced investors, right? But for those of you that want to take it a whole step further, there's more hands-on approaches that we call the directed cash deployment. And that's the one that I talk to you guys about the most. Okay. Directed cash deployment. The standard drip is great, but it has one potential weakness. It's valuation blind. It buys more of an asset, whether it's cheap or expensive. Directed cash deployment is going to be the solution here. And here's how it works. Instead of setting all your positions to reinvest automatically, you can set them to deposit to core account. Or in some situations, just let it drop into your stash app and do its thing. All your dividend payments pool together as cash into your brokerage account. This is your tactical dry power. Then once a month or once a quarter, depending on what the stock market looks like at the time, the money that you're holding, capital allocation meeting, this is going to be that you're going to do it yourself, holding a capital allocation meeting. You're going to look at your portfolio at least once a month or once a quarter, depending, because if you've got monthly dividend payers like I told you about, you're going to do this every month. But if you only got quarterlies, you're probably going to do this once a quarter. But you look at your portfolio, you look at your pile of cash, and you make a strategic decision. You're manually deploying the cash into the best opportunity available at that moment, which is usually the stocks that are suffering in that moment, not the ones that are profiting. So if you're looking at your portfolio, you see some that are up. It's got a green number. There's a certain percentage up that it is. That's not the ones you're looking at. You're looking at the ones that either are redlining, or if you've got green and black where it's just like black numbers that says it's in a negative, it's down 12%. That's the one you're looking for. You're not looking for the one that's up 15, 20%. You're looking for the one that's down 5, 10, 20%. That's the one you want to put your money towards. And this is how you truly begin to force your portfolio to work smarter. So, for example, rebalancing cash flow with, let's say you have a target of 80% of your stocks and 20% in bonds. But after the stock rallies, you're at like 85-15. Instead of selling any stocks and triggering taxes, you just direct all of the new dividend cash into your underweighted bond positions. You're rebalancing without selling anything. Buying the drip would ignore this. Your tech stocks are down 20%. You're buying consumer staples. Your stocks are doing fine, right? You can take the dividends from all your holdings and concentrate that firepower to aggressively buy the tech stock while it is on sale instead of the drip forcing it to go into consumer staples that aren't suffering right now. You're using your portfolio's overall strength to capitalize on a specific area of weakness, sending new positions into your portfolio. That's another thing. So seeding in some new positions. If you want to add in international dividend ETF, or like at least once a month, Stephen comes to me with a fantastically new stock that could really look good on the portfolio, right? You enter initial purchase using the accumulated dividends from your existing US holdings. Like I told Stephen, I get some stuff from the stock party. Some of the stocks that are growth stocks that are not dividend paying stocks, even if they're good stocks, like that Tesla stock and that Google stock, that Alphabet stock, I might sell them because if I sold them, they're pennies on a dollar. But if I sold them, I could use that capital to purchase a position on something else. Now, yes, if you don't want to trigger a taxable event, you don't want to sell shit. But if it's up right now and I sell it while it's up, then I didn't lose anything. I take what I get from selling it, right? And then I put it into a different position that allows me to gain more capital. I can still rebalance it with all of the other shares that I have from all of the other stocks that I got going on, but I'm making sure that my portfolio continues to grow with all of the cash that I invested into dividend paying stocks that will all give me some kind of money from somewhere at different times of the month, right? Your current portfolio is literally giving birth to a new one. And this strategy requires more discipline. You have to resist letting the cash sit idle. You have to resist taking the cash out and spending it on bullshit. But it gives you flexibility, potential tax efficiencies, because sometimes you're going to have taxable events, but you're going to have less taxable events because you're not going to be forced selling to make profits every time the market shifts. You have the power to be an active, intelligent allocator of your portfolio's own capital. And you don't have to make a phone call and give somebody the commission to make these changes for you. The core idea here is going to be simple but very powerful. Your portfolio doesn't have to be a passive bucket that you just fill with money. It can be a dynamic self-funding machine that helps build itself. And it all comes down to a three-part system. First, pick the right components. High quality, cash generating assets. Or second, you want to build the engine by turning on active dividend reinvestments if you're going to use the drips. And then third, install your own operating system with unbreakable behavioral rules. When you combine these three things, the right assets, automation, and behavior, you start a process where your assets begin to buy more assets, which generates more cash to buy more assets. You break free from the stressful cycle of being the sole provider for your financial future, because that's what we're doing this for. We're not doing this for today. We're not doing this for the end of the year. We're not doing this for the vacation to Cancun during spring break. We're doing this for when we can no longer physically work or no longer willing to work for whoever the fuck our employer is. There are days where our boss talks shit to us and we really want to say something to our boss. And in some situations, we really want to do something to our boss, but we choose not to because we need this job. If you build the type of financial success aside from that job, you no longer need this job. You're capable of articulating a higher level of demand for respect on this job because I'm here because I feel like it, not because you pay me to be here. I don't need this job, and I can easily remove myself from this job if I am not being respected as a freaking human being. Big difference. right? Ultimately, you break free from the stressful cycle of being the sole provider for your financial future, and you're going to create a true partnership in your wealth building journey because your portfolio is going to back you up on your ability to make money for yourself, which isn't necessarily something that you're going to get if you're living from paycheck to paycheck. Because we have a constant level of anxiety that we fester with because we always worry that the money that we got is not enough to last us until the next time we get money. As soon as conflict happens on our job, an immense level of stress overwhelms us. Anxiety consumes us because if today is the day I get fired, how do I pay my rent at the beginning of August? Right? This puts us in a position of kissing ass. I'll do whatever it takes to keep this job, even if it means diminishing my pride, right? It's not a level of humbleness when you have to yes master the boss so that you can keep getting a paycheck, right? The journey is going to start with a single decision, which is the decision to stop feeding your portfolio in an unhealthy manner and start building a machine that can feed itself. You want to build a machine that not only feeds itself, but feeds you at the same time. But you have to start by building a machine that feeds itself. That way, it can build enough where the machine doesn't need as much and you can get the difference. And if this framework resonates with you guys, if you guys have been here from the beginning, you guys know what's going on. You want to make sure that you give this video a thumbs up. You want to like it and subscribe it. And for more deep dives into the building lasting wealth, you want to make sure that you keep coming back every night because we got a lot of information that we provide you guys on a regular basis. For those of you that are just coming towards the end of the show, you need to watch this motherfucker from the beginning because we got a lot of stuff coming in and there's a lot of information here for you guys. And we provide this stuff to you on a regular basis. And we also put this information into the membership. So I want to make sure that you guys double back and take a look at the information in the membership on a regular basis so that you can stay up to date with all of the detailed information that I give you guys after the surface level information that I give you guys on the show. And before we go, I got a question for you guys. What is the first cash flow asset that you're going to add to your machine? You guys put it into the comments. I'm going to take a look at it and see what it's about. I know that Steven has brought me 2 out of 3 good ones. And because technically Carfax is a good one. It's just when he was talking to me about it, I didn't see anything that would benefit it at that moment. But after we've seen what we've seen with automakers right now, CarMax might be a good growth stock for, like I said, 2027, 2028, 2029. Because if society is going to protest, and CarMax is only going to be a good stock if and only if society protests the technology that's going into the new cars. If society doesn't give 2 shits about it, but they're going to complain about it, but they're not going to do anything about it, then nothing's really going to change about the market, which means Carfax isn't going to benefit in the next 5 years. But if the average consumer redirects their attention from brand new cars and starts refocusing their attention on cars made before 2025, since we don't want to waste money on the $15,000 inflation cost on cars that are made after 2025 because of the tariffs, and we don't want to be bombarded by being monitored while we're driving, where they're listening to our cars, they have video cameras in our cars, they're watching what we say and do in our cars while we're driving, which could lead to us getting citations while we're driving for the shit that we're doing in our cars while we're driving, where we can't even make up an excuse to the court because they got it on camera, they got the audio file. If we don't want that type of technology in our cars, we can't buy a car that was made after 2026, definitely. And that's really the issue. And if that's the case, a lot more people are going to be buying used cars and certified pre-owned vehicles because we're going to be buying cars before the laws were enforced and the mechanics of the vehicles were changed. So that in that dynamic, CarMax will start making more money, right? But if they're willing to spend $200,000 for a Hellcat Demon Genesis because it's faster than the Hellcat, which is faster than the Charger, because they can buy a stock car that can do 300 miles an hour, then they don't really care if the GPS tracker can have you issue a ticket in the mail simply because your car tracks yourself going faster than the average speed in that area. If you don't care about that, then a lot of people are going to be still buying new cars. But truth be told, like I said, CarMax being a benefit is based off of consumer performance, which we are not going to be able to gauge until 2028. So if you're buying into CarMax in 2026, hoping that 2028 everybody's going to be like fuck brand new cars, you're rolling a dice against the market. One of the things that I've learned over the last 5 years is that you're not supposed to be timing the market. You're not supposed to be betting on the positives and negatives of market swings. Yes, you can do that as an experienced investor, as a day trader, as one of those Wall Street guys, and you can make a good life off of that. But for the average beginner, the average novice, the average advanced investor, you kind of know what you're doing, but you're not pro status. You don't do this for a living. You just do this so that you don't stay broke. That's not what you're trying to do. You're not trying to time the market. You're not trying to bet against the market. You can't do enough research by yourself to be able to bank on making a massive financial change in 2028, not knowing what president's going to fuck up the situation in 2029. So your best bet, like I tell you guys on a regular basis, if you pay attention to the stocks that I give you guys in the membership, the stocks that are going across the top of the screen, the stocks that are dividend paying stocks that will always pay you money, whether the market's good or the market is bad, you're actually not having to time the market. You're actually able to put your money up in a guaranteed position where you're going to get paid. The money that you're going to get paid is going to be consistent. When the price of stock goes down, you can buy more of it for less. When the stock goes up, you stop buying it and buy the other ones that are cheaper, right? And you keep doing that to grow the principal of your stock while guaranteeing the dividend payout doesn't alter. If you're grabbing blue chip companies that doesn't hedge on a regular basis, then you're guaranteed that you're not 100% guaranteed, but 90% guaranteed that your dividends are not going to cut. They're not going to be reduced. And if you're paying attention to this, the money that you're going to get from your portfolio is guaranteed, at least 80% guaranteed, right? 80 to 90% guaranteed. And if your money is guaranteed from your portfolio more than is guaranteed from your employer, now you have a position to say, hey, I can retire. And that's where we wanted to get you guys set up for. I want you guys to get set up for your retirement where you actually know when you're going to stop. That's where we want you guys to be at. So make sure that you guys put that information into the comments. I read all of them. That's all I have for you guys for tonight. We're here 7 nights a week. We typically start at about 11:30 Eastern Standard Time every night of the week. So I want you guys to come back tomorrow and see what all we got going on. Wednesdays, we typically talk about different countries around the world to invest in. And then Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we're going to be giving you guys self-improvement, personal development information. So I want you guys to double back on that. And then Monday and Tuesday, we're going to be giving you more information about how politics is interfering with your money and then how to make money in different ways. We have a lot of shows that are already pre-scheduled going into September. So every day of this month and the majority of next month and tiptoeing into September, we got a lot of shows already pre-scheduled. You can look at those shows, hit the notification button on all of those shows. Really, Mondays are like the days that we do like the weekend before because I want to be up to date about the matters at hand. But the rest of the shows, Tuesday through Sunday, are typically set 3 weeks to 6 weeks out, which gives you guys the ability to see what the topics are going to be about and then hit the notifications on that show and then take time out of your day to be here to learn something. Where Nothing Is True came in just to troll the podcast simply because they had nothing better to do. Instead, you're coming here to learn something. You're coming to grow. You're coming to improve yourself. Getting on a live podcast and getting real-time information on a daily basis to help you make better decisions to improve your life is a benefit to yourself. It's an asset and the membership being like $3 a month is so much cheaper than a financial advisor for $350 an hour. And I'm helping you with your personal life decisions as well as your financial decisions. I'm not just here telling you about investment brokerage opportunities. I'm talking to you guys about how to build something on the side that generates revenue on the side. I'm talking to you guys about how to reallocate your spending so that you're not wasting money on bullshit. I'm talking to you guys about not buying the name brand and buying unbranded quality so that you have something that lasts longer but doesn't cost nearly as much. And you have more money to allocate towards your future, because these are the things that are common knowledge that is no longer commonly taught to us. We were supposed to learn this from our parents and our grandparents, and they didn't know this, so they couldn't teach it to us. We're supposed to know this to teach it to our kids, and we don't know it, so we can't teach it to them. Our kids aren't learning this, so we are building generational failure because we're not taking the time out of our lives to learn what it takes to not be broke anymore, to learn what it takes to have money make money for us, where we can be at the top of the ladder that we're trying to climb, and then be teaching everybody else how to get to where we are, right? And a lot of the times you can get paid to teach people how to get to where you are, but it requires you to get to a level of stability that everybody aspires to in order for them to pay you to get there. And I'm not the kind of guy that's going to say, hey, you know, I'm gonna give you the inside scoop and never give it to you. I didn't give it to you. I didn't give it to you for the last 3 hours. I've been giving it to you for 3 hours a day for the last 2 years on what to do and where to do it. And then I started putting all of the information into the membership so that you can go back and pick it up in case you didn't watch the show. Way more information than you would have ever thought possible. But this is common information that we're overwhelmed by the internet. So we now have tunnel vision. We only show up to be entertained. We're entertained by people making an ass out of themselves. We're entertained by comedy, but we're not on social media to learn anything. We're not on social media to improve ourselves. The average thing that pops up on your for you page is desire, impulse, and actually rage bait, because you have a lot of those traffic stops where the cops are being irresponsible, motorcyclists that are reckless driving through traffic and then claiming that they have the legal right to do that. You have Karens that are superimposing themselves on your personal decision making and having the police superimpose themselves on a situation that didn't require anybody to be involved. Then you have people that literally make an ass out of themselves, or even worse, people that fuck with other people in public, where you're picking on strangers and calling it a prank, right? So that you can get paid to piss off somebody in passing. This is what we look for in social media. Whereas in Asia, they're looking up educational shit, how to be more successful. And then you wonder why we're the richest country in the world and we're not nearly as developed as China. China got solutions to problems that America is still leasing out, right? We're leasing out the problem without even trying to find a solution, right? And you got to understand, you know, I love where I'm at, but at the end of the day, if it could be better, it should be better. And we need to find a way to make it better. We can't just sit here and say that society that we live in sucks because of upper management. We can't just blame the president or blame Congress or blame the wealthy or blame Walmart or blame anybody big business or multi-billionaires as to why society sucks. Because billionaires wouldn't be billionaires if the businesses that they run wasn't making profits. The businesses that they run wouldn't be making profits if poor people wasn't spending money in those businesses. So really, the average 75% of Americans that don't make enough money to be in those stores wasting money on that bullshit is the reason why those stores stay open. If we learn how to be more responsible and live life like the wealthy people live life, which is not buying $5,000 dinners, but literally buying stuff of relevance that meaningfully impacts and improves our lives, we'll find ourselves spending less money more often. And I can tell you right now, one of the first short-term goals that you can set for yourself is to have a standard of living where your non-luxury spending is effectively 30% of the total quantity of money you bring into your house. You, your partner, if your kids work and they help with the rent, 30% of the money that comes into the house. When your primary base standard of living, meaning that all the luxuries are gone, and this right here is the least that I can pay to be stable. When that number is 30% of the paycheck that you bring in, That's the first step to success. And the reason why that's a good number is because you can still spend 20% on luxury and 50% on a brokerage account and make yourself a millionaire inside of 10 to 20 years. If you're doing it as a collective, where it's mom, dad, and a couple of kids, you're doing this as a collective, in 10 years, if everybody's contributing, if you've got a family of four, mom and dad and the two kids, everybody's got jobs, everybody's paying into the fold, you're living off of one income, but you got four incomes coming in, you could probably have a family of millionaires within 5 to 10 years, which means that y'all as a collective would then be able to live off of upward of $150,000 a year divided across four people, which is closer to $25,000, $30,000 a year. And if y'all are living there together, you don't need all of that. You'd likely be living off of $75,000 a year and put the rest of it back into the brokerage account. But mom and dad now has the capabilities of leaving the children a multi-million-dollar portfolio that the children can split, and each kid have $60,000 a year, and the rest of it get put back into the brokerage account, which means they don't have to work anymore. Nobody has to work anymore. So if y'all are working together and your kids are 16 right now in 2026, when your kids are 27, everybody can quit. Mom and dad can quit. The kids can quit. Everybody can quit. And y'all can live a decent standard of living where the whole family can enjoy life for the next 30 years. Nobody thinks about that. But that should be the first goal for you to try to set for yourself, is to try to reduce the cost of your living to 30% of your income. And you can do it in increments. Shave off the first 20% of unnecessary spending. Start there. Then start looking at the subscriptions and shit like that you have, that you pay for just in case, but you don't readily use. Work that out. Then you start looking at impulse spending. That's unnecessary. Knock that out. That should take off 30 to 40% of the shit you don't have to buy. If you can get to 60% where you're putting 40% away, you're still doing good. You're doing way better than living at 95% of your income. But that extra 40% of money that you no longer have allocated to bullshit is now allocated towards your future. 40% of your income on $50,000 is probably closer to $20,000, which ultimately means that you will be having like 200 grand plus interest in 10 years, which is closer to $450,000. Just by shaving unnecessary spending out of your budget. Y'all got to think about this stuff. Now, that's all I got for you guys for tonight. I'm going to start by saying a special shout out to Steven, Unc Andy, Michael, OG Kicks, FX Trader. I really appreciate you guys. Joe Jack for coming to the show. Then I want to start by saying, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. Fellas, I give you this information to make you guys higher value men, not just to improve your financial life, but improve your decision-making skills around your financial life, because the stuff that you decide to do on a day-to-day basis typically costs you money, either directly or indirectly. And that quantity of financial decision-making impacts your requirement to make money. So if you change the way you make decisions, you change the way you spend money, which changes the way the money gets spent, which changes how much money you need to make. Right? Now, also, I want you guys to make sure that you need to focus on things in your life that are inside of your control. If you see the things inside of your life that you can control that you don't like, those are the things you want to put extra effort into changing. That improves your lifestyle and then gives you the capabilities to then navigate around the things that are outside of your control, because you can't control everything in your life. But if you have the things in your life that you control under control, you have more focus to work around stuff that's outside of your control. Right? Now, ladies, well, this is a male-driven podcast from a male's perspective. You too can make yourselves higher value women by prioritizing your 20 or 30-year plan, reverse engineering it to what you need to do today, prioritizing your 20-year plan while keeping your eyes and ears open for the potential suitor that has the right personality, the right characteristics, the right determination, motivation, dedication, admiration, and integrity to complete his own 20-year plan because you having a destination in your future ain't got shit to do with your partner. But if you have a partner that has a destination in their future, y'all both can be headed in the same direction without actually having to have the same goals. One of you can be in auto mechanics, the other could be a dance instructor. One could be a teacher, and the other one can be a manager at a fast food restaurant. But if y'all have long-term satisfaction goals that y'all can work on simultaneously, y'all can aid each other in accomplishing your goals a whole lot faster than what you would if you're knocking it out with a partner that has short-term gratification goals, a person that gets fucked up every weekend versus a person that's planning for their retirement every week. If one of you is working on living in the moment and the other one's working on living for the future, you're always going to have financial conflicts because one of you is going to be micromanaging the money and the other one is going to be trying to live like Riley and free spirit their life. And that doesn't benefit the two of you. The relationship usually fails because of differences in financial lifestyles. So if you both have the same similar type of financial lifestyle, I tell you guys on a regular basis, two people can make it to $1 million faster than one, but it requires you guys to work together. So with that being said, I'm going to thank you guys for coming to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I'll see you guys tomorrow night.
Higher ground. Used to chase validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt upon the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher, constantly making my own climb. Standing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. I'm not landing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground.